Chapter 801. Waves splashed on the shore, and the sound of gulls and egrets could be heard. With Jili province as the leader and other provinces as support, they came to the seaside and boarded the boat prepared by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. They looked at the place where the water met the sky and moved north against the current. However, at this moment, Tuyu was also standing on the deck of a ship. His face did not reveal the excited expression of the other soldiers. In fact, he really wanted to stay in the Song Mo Commander-in-Chief's office and take advantage of the fact that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were not here to stir up trouble. But he didn't dare to do so. It had nothing to do with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. It was mainly because of the Tang Empire's imperial court. To be precise, it was Li Longji's plan. He mobilized 60,000 soldiers from Hunan province to hold a drill in Dangzhou. At the same time, he also took out 6,000 navy soldiers from Jiangnan province. If one were to travel by land from Jili to Dangzhou, it would take about a month to travel on horseback. But if one were to travel by water, it would only take a few days. Who would dare to make trouble for Jili? Perhaps the strong army of the Great Tang would arrive before the soldiers were ready. Li Longji is a stupid emperor. He will regret it one day if he doesn't take the opportunity to weaken Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family. Tuyu rubbed his face that was a little numb from the salty sea breeze and said confidently. Zhang Xiaobao didn't care what Tuyu thought. He didn't have the time. He was busy with the logistics plan. He had to let the soldiers understand the strength of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family. Wang Wan, on the other hand, was playing with Pan, and the two little ones. Xiao Bei and the others had left with them. Naturally, they couldn't leave the two little darlings in Jili province, even if there were still 5,000 soldiers guarding the province. Of course, they couldn't send the two little guys back to the capital. When they reached Luoyang, they would let their parents take care of them. As for Xiao Bei and the others, it was better to follow them all the way to Jinchuan. They could let the 100 little guards see what a real war was like. No matter how good the training was, it was different from actual combat. Xiao Bei, who was used to following his family around, pulled Xiao Yuan to stand by the side of the boat. He stretched out 2 fingers and then 3. He asked, "Do you know what this is called?" 2 and 3. Xiao Yuan tried his best to stay as far away from Xiao Bei as possible and said softly, "Wrong, it's 23% of my strength," Xiao Bei said proudly. Xiao Yuan pursed his lips. He understood what Xiao Bei was trying to convey. Wasn't it just 23 bodyguards? Was there a need to repeat it every day? You're not convinced, are you? Then when we reach Jinchuan, let's compete and see whose guards kill more enemies. Xiao Bei, who wanted to be a general, issued a challenge to Xiao Yuan. Little Yuan shook his head vigorously. "A gentleman doesn't stand on a collapsing wall. It's better for me to hide behind." "You win." "Tisk, only children would hide behind. You're just a child." "You're the kid, I'm not." Xiao Yuan finally didn't care whether he was a gentleman or not. It was a great insult to be called a kid. "That's right. How did Big Brother teach her? Are you ready? Be ready at all times. We are the Strong Children's Protection Group, the future masters." Xiao Bei waved her little fists and sang in a crisp voice. She was now a member of a team. Xiao Yuan also hummed a few words. But after thinking about it, he was still worried. "Can we really do it?" "Of course. Why don't you lend your 11 people to me first? Cooperation is the foundation of victory. The minority obeys the majority. I have more people, so your people have to obey me." Xiao Bei's purpose was finally exposed. After saying this, he suddenly rubbed his stomach. Let's eat. Let's go. Don't waste time. After eating, we still have to listen to the story. The matter we talked about just now is settled." "What matter?" Xiao Yuan didn't want to give up the military power, so he pretended not to know. "Lend the soldiers. It's an adult matter. Let's go, or we won't be able to hear the story." Xiao Bei hurriedly pulled Xiao Yuan and ran into the cabin. Even children knew how to control the military power, so it was impossible for adults not to know. The generals who followed Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan out of the various prefectures were repeatedly told before they left that they could slightly cooperate with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, but they definitely couldn't let the two of them obtain the military power. From the moment they sat on the ship, each of the generals appeared to be very nervous. The fear of water and the unfamiliarity of Jin Chuan made the hearts of the soldiers who were far away from home fluctuate. If that was the case, they and the other generals wouldn't have to worry. But when they didn't have any good ideas, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan actually sent many people to contact the soldiers here. They talked about the scenery along the way, talked about the various places they would pass by, and talked about the famous people who had appeared in the past and present. They introduced the situation at Jinchuan and talked about the measures to deal with seasickness. They had never seen such an army. Other than going to war, they still had to talk to the soldiers. Pressure, a lot of pressure. They didn't know if they could continue to control the soldiers when the time came. The gathered generals considered this and kept glancing at each other, but they didn't have any ideas. If they were asked to do the same thing, they admitted that they couldn't do it. During the meal, one of the generals finally couldn't hold back the worry in his heart and whispered to another person beside him, "General Mo Na, did you suddenly ask us to gather at the cabin tonight? Should we go or not?" The person who was called Mo Na couldn't make a decision at the moment. Now that they had left their hometown and no one was around, they had to be careful. He replied, "Let's talk about it later. I'm just worried that we don't have to worry about food and water here. Will the soldiers not have enough to eat? This time, there are a total of more than 40,000 people here. It's difficult to make good supplies." The person who asked the question also nodded. That's right. There are 5,000 guards in Jili province. 3,000 went to the north. I don't know what they did, but 1,000 disappeared for no reason. Only 1,000 are with the troops. I don't know how big the battle at Jinchuan is. I heard that the flames of war have been going on for a few days. Maybe they have already started the battle. They deliberately didn't light 3 flames to deceive us. When the battle really starts, I hope you can help. His guess was right. The battle had indeed started. Logically speaking, there should be 3 flames of war. However, whether it was Han Xianfeng, Zhang Xiaobao, or Wang Wan, they didn't want to do that. 2 flames could be a reminder. But 3 flames would make the people in the imperial court who didn't know the specific reason uneasy. Of course. Mo Na was also nervous. He always felt that he was being schemed against. The generals had different thoughts when eating, but the soldiers under their command lived very well. According to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's understanding, northerners usually had a strong appetite, so the food prepared for the soldiers was a little salty. Coupled with the light soup, the taste was something the soldiers had never tasted before. Giamos made of marinated donkey meat, pickles in jars, and soup with cucumber, egg, and fungus were 3 simple dishes. All the soldiers ate until their stomachs were bloated. They couldn't stop cheering. However, when the person sent by Kutuyu to investigate came back, Kutuyu felt more and more uneasy. Usually in the army, he didn't give his subordinates donkey meat and good biscuits, let alone soup with fungus. Many soldiers probably didn't even know what fungus tasted like since they were born. How could fungus be eaten by ordinary people? It seemed that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were scheming something big. He thought about how he had always lost in the several confrontations. Suddenly, he was worried and unconvinced. He waited until night came and discussed with the generals before he could unite to deal with the 2 of them. The ship was not slow. Even if it was against the current on the water, it didn't stop at all. In addition to the full sail, the wheels on both sides of the ship were also turning nonstop. Zhang Xiaobao didn't have to take all the supplies from his own home. In that case, the loss of freight would be even greater. Along the way, he bought directly from the places on both sides of the river. The current season was a good time for several kinds of vegetables. He sent people to spread the news that he was buying a large amount of goods. There were naturally clever merchants who would think of ways to collect enough ingredients and send them to the place. As a result, the prices on both sides of the Yellow River rose by a lot. Zhang Xiaobao didn't have the leisure to think about how much the passing by could increase the economy on both sides of the river. He was thinking about how to deal with Ku Tuyu. Every cabin where the generals lived had a special surveillance method. What a group of generals discussed last night naturally couldn't escape his ears. After hearing the report from his subordinates, Zhang Xiaobao said to Wang Wan, "But Tuyu is really ruthless. In order to deal with us, he didn't care about the health of the soldiers and wanted to poison them. He even wanted to eat poisonous things themselves. It's not a poison that can kill people. It's just croton. There are only two purposes. First, he wants his subordinates to misunderstand us. Even if they don't think that we poison them, they will think that our logistics are not good. Second, he wants to delay time. He can't travel so fast when he's sick." Wang Wan showed a very disdainful attitude towards what Ku Tuyu did. Zhang Xiaobao sat there and tapped his face with his hand for a long time. "Since he wants to do things to the extreme, I will help him. It's not easy for him to get a lot of croton. I have to help him. He wants to be ruthless to himself, but I will be even more ruthless to him. I want to see if he can continue to command the army after he falls ill. What are you going to do?" Wang Wan hadn't seen Zhang Xiaobao's signature move for a long time, but this didn't mean that she didn't know the consequences of Zhang Xiaobao's actions. Zhang Xiaobao also missed this kind of direct and targeted strategy. He chuckled and said, "There's a tactic called information warfare, and there's also a saying called 3 men make a tiger. Our advantage is that we have Water Cloud and Pigeon. Even if he doesn't do it, he'll still do it even if everyone says he did it. You want to send a message directly to the Song Mo Commander-in-Chief's office and expose Kutuyu's actions?" Wang Wan guessed. "No, I want to send a message to his surroundings and let the people in the Song Mo Commander-in-Chief's office know through other people's mouths. But not now. No matter what, we have to go through the capital so that they can't catch up even if they want to send a message." Chapter 802. While Ku Tuyu and the other generals were in a bad mood, their soldiers were living a very good life. During this period of time, they were able to eat good food that they normally couldn't eat. White steamed buns and rice that were very comfortable to bite on. Coupled with the supply of vegetables and meat, they felt that this time they were not out to fight, but to enjoy life. Especially at night, when the dew was heavy, the person in charge of the night watch could even get a small cup of wine. It looked a little small, but it was much stronger than the wine they drank before. Just a small cup was enough to warm up their entire body from the inside out. The soldiers had already fallen in love with this kind of life. The only thing that made them a little unhappy was that the food that followed Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, as well as the few hundred guards, was not the same as what they were eating. For example, last night they had 1 serving of fish, 2 servings of vegetables, eggplant and cucumber, and a bowl of mutton soup. However, the people who came with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan ate eggplant and cabbage. The meat dish was braised pork and a bowl of egg soup. The braised pork was fine. After all, the fish they ate was called braised fish, although the taste was a little worse. However, eggplant and cabbage were not vegetarian dishes at all. Whose vegetarian dish was called minced meat and eggplant? Whose vegetarian dish had shredded meat in it? No matter how envious or jealous they were, they couldn't complain. "I won't complain." A chiton soldier who was in charge of the night watch held a cup of warm wine in his hand. He licked it gently with his tongue and said to the person next to him, who was also in charge of the night watch, "My life is worth it. I have meat every day and wine when I am in charge of the night watch. Since I was young, I have never drunk such good wine." Another soldier had the same feeling. He sniffed the wine cup with his nose and said, "It's a pity that someone else will be in charge of the night watch tomorrow. When I discussed it with them, they didn't want to do it. I am willing to do the hard work of night watch. Right now, I'm just scared. I'm scared that if I follow them all the way and come back victorious, how am I going to live without Governor Zhang and Adjunct Wang? Now I understand why their subordinates are so good at fighting and eat so well." Keep your voice down. Don't let anyone hear you. Otherwise, even if you don't die, you will lose a layer of skin. I really regret that I didn't go to Jili State to be a soldier. If I brought my family with me, oh, I don't dare to think about it. I don't dare to think about it. The person who spoke earlier lowered his voice and looked around nervously. Seeing that no one was paying attention to them, he heaved a sigh of relief. The two of them sipped their wine and continued their night watch. The same thing was happening on different ships. But how could Tuyu not hear any news at all? However, he had no other choice. He couldn't possibly ask his subordinates not to eat the food provided by the Zhang family and Wang family. Where would he find food to feed his subordinates then? His subordinates were used to eating the food of the Zhang family and Wang family. When they returned to the martial manor in the future, would they have to follow the food of the Zhang family and Wang family? Pass down the order. Get someone to buy croton as soon as possible. We'll be arriving in Luoyang soon. Hand it over there. Once the croton is obtained, give it to someone to use. Tuyu had a feeling that time was passing by like a year. He wished he could grow a pair of wings and fly outside to bring back the croton. The subordinate who had been in charge of waiting on him agreed and carefully left the cabin to make the arrangements. Contacting people outside was a very troublesome matter. When the time came, they still had to send the croton to the various ships. A moment of carelessness could be discovered. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had already helped Tuyu arrange some of the matters. They were also waiting for the right time to come. Wang Wan lay on the bed, her head leaning on Zhang Xiaobao's shoulder as she whispered, "Xiaobao, the matter of the bank is now considered stable. Do you have any plans for the next step?" Zhang Xiaobao knew what Wang Wan was asking about. It was the same problem of interest as when the national debt was issued. Now, the bank didn't have to pay any additional fees for depositing money. Ever since the bank took this measure, other places that specialized in exchanging money had no choice but to think of other ways to collect funds. No one was willing to deposit money with them. At the beginning, many shops wanted to support the bank, but as the imperial court bought large amounts of silk, when the time was almost up, they felt the determination and strength of the imperial court. Seeing that other people were coming to take a large amount of money and transfer it to the bank, they had no choice but to follow the great Tang bank's policy of exchanging and storing without any fees. Otherwise, if all the people who deposited money with them came to withdraw money, they simply couldn't afford it. A lot of money had already been lent out in the form of usury, but it wasn't time yet, so they couldn't collect it. It was precisely because of this that Zhang Xiaobao hadn't introduced the matter of interest. He was afraid that it would have too great of an impact on other financial industries. After thinking about it carefully, Zhang Xiaobao said to Wang Wan, "Isn't it a bit too early? You have to know that once interest is paid on deposits, it means that the currency has begun to depreciate. In order to make the people feel that their money hasn't depreciated, we have to increase productivity. Right now, we are researching all kinds of science and technology, but we haven't taken it out yet. Then let's take it out." Wang Wan also understood this situation. If they didn't develop productivity, then the depreciation would be true depreciation. If productivity could keep up, then they would be able to reach a balance between supply and demand. The more productivity developed, the better the people's lives would be. "Xiaobao, if we take it out, then the people's lives will be better," Wang Wan added. "Even if it's better, they won't be satisfied. Have you read history books? I haven't studied it systematically, but I know the thoughts of human life. In the past, it was just liberated, right? At that time, 1 cent could buy a large piece of fermented bean curd. What about us at that time? We didn't have a cent or a cent. 1 piece of fermented bean curd was $1, and it was still small. It should be considered a devaluation of the currency, a devaluation of more than 100 times. But at that time, the money we earned was very little, only a dozen or so dollars a month. At that time, we earned close to $10,000 a month, and that was considered low. But at that time, the people complained that the price of goods was too high. Because luxury goods were expensive, some people earned more money. What's that saying again? It's called, don't worry about scarcity, but worry about inequality. Do you mean that in order to let the people live in the happiness of undeveloped productivity forever, you don't want them to transition to an era of inequality where they can eat a lot of food and wear beautiful clothes? I don't agree. When Wang Wan heard Zhang Xiaobao's words, she wondered what he was going to do. But she also knew very well that if one wanted to rely on someone's power to interfere with the development of the era, they could only delay it, but they couldn't stop it. Zhang Xiaobao shook his head. I don't agree either. What I mean is that if we develop productivity well, others won't appreciate our kindness. Why should we release all the technology at once? Let's do it bit by bit. If we release a little bit, we can earn a lot of money. The investment in scientific research is not small. In order to have more money to invest in benefiting the people in the future, we need to continue to accumulate a lot of money. We can't burden the imperial court, and we can't exploit the working people. So, the interest matter can wait. It can be considered as helping the financial industry. Okay, why are you looking for excuses? Can't you just say that you want to make money? Why do the words sound so strange when they come out of your mouth? Sure enough, there's no good person in business. Wang Wan was confused by Zhang Xiaobao's words just now. When Zhang Xiaobao finished speaking, she understood that he was just looking for excuses. Right? Who's a good person in business? They're all officials. Good people, good officials, right? Zhang Xiaobao muttered. I don't have anything to say to you. Go to sleep. Move over there. Don't take your arm away. It's still a pillow. Wang Wan also muttered. She pulled Zhang Xiaobao's arm and put her head on it. It's numb, it's numb. Tomorrow, we have to provoke them and let them be firm in their thoughts. I heard that some girls get married and have children at the age of 13 or 14. We're almost there, right? I heard that eunuchs don't have to worry about this kind of thing for their entire lives. I can help you. At dawn the next day, Xiao Bei and the rest of the little guys started to train their 100 teenage bodyguards again. They did morning exercises on the deck and shouted loudly. It really did look like they were doing something. The bodyguards brought by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, as well as the 1,000 soldiers, were also training in a small area. The other 40,000 people were already immersed in the aroma of the food. It was not inferior to a gentle village at all. Today's breakfast was meat buns. There were some green onions in the chopped meat filling. Before they could eat it, the fragrance that assailed their nostrils made them drool. With the addition of the meat, pickles, tofu pudding, and chives, it was as if it was the new year. As expected, when Tuyu found out what they had for breakfast, his expression turned even gloomier. The other generals also felt regret. If they had known earlier, they would not have brought them here personally. This was their own army. If they wanted to win over the hearts of the people when they returned, they would probably have to spend a lot of money. A small portion of the people were depressed, while a large portion of the people were happy. When the fleet arrived at Luoyang, the small portion of the people were also happy. They were all waiting to get Croton from Luoyang. In Luoyang, the fleet had to stop for a day to rest and reorganize. The main reason was that Empress Wang's 2 children had to be sent to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's home. They could not bring 2 babies to war. Seeing that Pan was about to be sent away, Xiao Bei reluctantly reached out his hand to touch Pan face. He lowered his head and kissed her. Good baby, don't be anxious. It won't be long before Big Sister brings the soldiers back victorious. When that time comes, you'll be a little older. I'll bring you to swim. It's very simple. Pan blinked her eyes and looked at them curiously. In the end, she cried. It was not because of the separation, but because they were not familiar with the people carrying them. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's mother just happened to have nothing to do, and her children were not by her side. Now that the 2 little guys were sent over, it could be considered as relieving some of the boredom. After spending a day with Xiao Bei and the others, when it was time for the fleet to continue moving, she gave some instructions and left with the 2 children who were still shy. When the crying gradually faded away, the fleet embarked on a new journey. In the cabin, Coutu looked at the big bags of croton seeds and was very nervous. He asked the person who went to do the work, "Did anyone follow you?" "No. This little one looked carefully. Besides, this little one used the excuse of buying something else as an excuse. Who would have thought that there would be so much croton seeds in the cargo? The person who did the work shook his head and promised. Not to mention that no one else found out. Even if they found out, he would not dare to say anything. Kutuyu licked his lips with his tongue, then bit it and said, "Find a way to spread the news to the other ships. 2 days later, at night, we will act at the same time. If this matter is leaked, then you, this little one, understands. If it is leaked, it will be done by this little one alone. It will have nothing to do with the general. When the time comes, I ask the general to take care of this little one's family." How could the person who did the work not understand Kutuyu's meaning? If there is a problem, he will have to take the blame. Even if he did not want to do this, he did not have the right to choose. Go, after this matter is done, there will be no shortage of benefits for you. Kutuyu ordered again. He took a few deep breaths, and no longer cared about the croton seeds in the cabin. He went outside and looked at the scenery on the river, as if nothing had happened. Because they were going to the desert, they did not have to go through Jiannan Road by land. This made the Zhang siblings feel very regretful. When the time came, they could only think of a way to discuss with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to let the two of them go home to have a look or to pick up their families. There was no need to go by land, so they walked along the Yellow River. To be precise, they passed by the capital and then entered the Jing River. At this time, Kutuyu was looking at a bridge on the river in shock. The water of the Yellow River surged and hit the side of the ship. Compared to the bridge that spanned the two sides, the surging water did not seem so shocking. What is the name of this bridge? Kutuyu looked at the pedestrians on the bridge and asked the soldiers on the side of the bridge. Replying to the general, "This bridge is called the third bridge of the Yellow River. It hasn't been named yet. This humble one has inquired about it. The naming of the bridge is not simple. If someone is willing to pay 1,000 strings of coins, they can name the bridge this year. If they still want to name it next year, they will have to pay again." The soldier had a lot of communication with other people and knew a lot of things. The third bridge? So there is also the first bridge and the second bridge. One has to pay 1,000 strings of coins to name it? Is there really someone stupid enough to pay? Kutuyu did not see the bridge the last time he came, but this time there was. It seemed that there was more than one bridge, which made him feel strange. What was even more strange was that they were willing to spend money to name it. The soldier said again, "There is. The first bridge and the second bridge have been named. The first bridge is called the 10,000 Zhang Cloth Line, and the second bridge is called the Wei Riverboat Transport. General, this bridge was built by the Zhang family and the Wang family. The Zhang family and the Wang family are really capable. They can actually build a bridge on the river. Also, their daily meals are good." "Good, you eat it. It is not small, it is not small." Kutuyu really did not know that the bridge was built by the Zhang family and the Wang family. Seeing it with his own eyes today, not only did he not have the heart to applaud Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, but his mood became heavier. The more capable the two families were, the more difficult his life in the commander-in-chief manner would be. Chapter 803. At the place where the sun was about to set, a red glow reflected on the horizon, and even the murmuring river had a trace of gorgeous color. Light smoke rose from hundreds of ships at the same time, and the sound of cooking could not stop. The soldiers who had been used to eating on the ships could not help but secretly swallow a few mouthfuls of saliva. Seeing was believing. Except for the 1,000 soldiers from Jili province and the guards who followed Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Rong, the other soldiers had a more direct understanding of the capabilities of the two families of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Rong. Although it was said to be military camp food, after tasting it, they found that it tasted more delicious than the food made by some good restaurants in their own provinces. The cooks who followed the army were not ordinary either. It would be good if they could continue to follow the army when they arrived at the place. They were afraid of war, so they could only bring fried noodles and cook by themselves. Usually, people were not allowed to enter the kitchen. It was clean inside, and there was no need to worry that people would find rats and cockroaches. It was the same today. Some soldiers liked to wander around when they were bored. The most frequent place was naturally the kitchen. If the master chef was happy, maybe they could steal some food. 3 dishes were fried, 2 vegetables, and 1 meat. There was also a big pot of soup. The main dish today was pancakes, which were hot noodles. They were very thin and also very big. Seeing that the dishes were all shredded, one knew that they should eat pancakes for dinner tonight. "Master Bai, are you busy?" A soldier strolled to the door of the kitchen, put 1 foot in, raised his neck, and looked at the busy person over there, and asked casually, "Not busy, not busy. Here, try this." The chef, who was working inside, had finished cooking. What he needed to do was to boil the soup. The dishes were first taken outside, and when the soup was ready, dinner would be served. While preparing the ingredients for the soup, Master Bai put a prawn in front of the soldier's mouth. The soldier quickly opened his mouth and chewed vigorously. He stuck out his thumb and praised, "Delicious. Master Bai's prawns are delicious. There's still soup left. Tonight, we're going to have a good time again. Master Bai, I really don't want to eat your dishes. What if I can't eat them in the future?" You can't stop your mouth from eating. Soon, the soup will be ready in a while. You can carry it over after flipping the flour. Master Bai chuckled. Even though he knew that the words of others were not true, he was still happy. Who wouldn't be happy when praised? They said that the soup was ready, so they filled a few large buckets and let the soldiers on the ship carry them out. The soldiers who carried the buckets were a little unfamiliar to the chefs in the kitchen. In the past, it was always a fixed soldier who carried the buckets, but today it was changed. After asking, they said that they would continue to change in the future. They couldn't always let a certain group of people do more work. Learning from Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan when they were leading the army, in the spirit of sharing weal and woe with the soldiers, the generals of the 40,000 soldiers also ate the same food and were not picky about their food. Actually, there was no excuse to be picky about the food. Was there need to be picky about the food prepared by the chefs of the Zhang family and Wang family? The food of the generals was the first to be delivered. However, when they suddenly saw the bowl of soup in front of them, they took 2 deep breaths and gritted their teeth. When they broke the bowl, they immediately gulped it down into their stomachs. They didn't touch anything else, otherwise it would be more troublesome later. Just as the generals tacitly drank the bowl of soup and didn't eat anything else, the chefs on each ship suddenly started to eat again. Master Bai, who had just fed the soldiers prawns, instructed his little disciple beside him, "Go and tell the generals not to drink the soup. There was a mistake. Today, they should be drinking seafood soup. The ingredients of the soup just now were mixed up. Go, quickly." The little disciple didn't know what was going on behind his back. He hurriedly ran out and shouted at the generals who were preparing to eat. When some of the generals heard that there was a better seafood soup, they immediately stopped what they were doing and waited happily. They rolled up the pancakes one by one and prepared to eat them later. Only a small portion of the generals' expressions changed. It was a very small portion, so small that they were only in charge of carrying the food. What soup is different? Even the swill poured by the chefs of the Zhang family and Wang family is better than the signature dishes of ordinary small restaurants. There's no need to spend so much money. Everyone drink. We'll drink this. A person in charge of carrying the food picked up a spoon and began to ladle soup into the bowls of others. The person in charge of delivering the news was anxious. "You can't drink it." The master said that the ingredients were mixed up. "If you drink it and get sick, he won't care." The people who were prepared to drink the soup boldly began to hesitate. At this time, the person in charge of delivering the news said, "The soup will be ready soon. Wait a moment. There are a lot of prawns in the soup. If you drink the soup now and drink the other soup later, you won't get sick." After the person in charge of delivering the news, everyone stopped what they were doing. Even the people carrying the food didn't continue to insist. They looked at the soup in front of them, sighed, and began to roll up the pancakes like the others. The news quickly reached Kutuyu's ears. When he heard that the soup was changed, he didn't feel anything. When the person in charge of handling the matter came to him and told him about his plan, Kutuyu finally understood. It's bad. Did someone find out? Why didn't you put it in the dish? Kutuyu asked the person in charge of handling the matter. General, I didn't see anyone else. If someone found out, wouldn't they expose it? I also want to put it in the dish, but it's too obvious to put it in the dish. If it's not evenly mixed, it can be found at a glance. If you eat it again, the taste will be different. It's only safe to put it in the soup. The person in charge of handling the matter immediately explained that the croton powder was not colorless and tasteless. Did you drink it? Kutuyu asked again. Yes. If I don't drink it, won't I be suspected? I drank a lot. General, did you drink it too? After the person in charge of handling the matter asked, his expression changed. It was unknown whether the croton powder reacted so quickly or it was just a psychological effect. Anyway, after he finished speaking, he covered his stomach with his hand and said with a bitter face, General, I'll go out first. Let's go together. Kutuyu didn't look good either. When the two of them walked hurriedly to a certain place, Kutuyu seemed to be very unwilling to give up. Have Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan and the others eaten? General, you forgot that they eat different dishes from us. They eat better and don't need our people to help them carry the buckets. General, I'll go first. The person in charge of handling the matter gritted his teeth and finally sped up, regardless of the identity of the general. Zhang Xiaobao, who was also eating, knocked the bone marrow out of the bones for his younger brothers and sisters and put one on each person's plate. Seeing his younger brothers and sisters eat happily, he said with a smile, Eat well. If you eat well, you won't get sick easily. Then what if you don't eat well? Will you get sick? Xiao Bei, who liked to eat bone marrow the most, looked at the few remaining bones in the plate in front of her brother, and then looked at the biggest bone marrow in her plate. She opened her small mouth and took a little bite, smacked her lips, and said, That's right. If you don't eat well, you will get sick. For example, that Kutuyu doesn't eat well. When the time comes, he will definitely get sick. Zhang Xiaobao suddenly thought of what happened tonight and was very happy. Xiao Bei first looked at her brother doubtfully. She grabbed a bone with one hand and held the wrist of her other hand. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to bear the weight of the bone. She nodded and said, Brother said that he will get sick, so he will definitely get sick. I think the bone marrow in this bone tastes better than the one in my plate. Help me take it out and let me compare. Xiao Yuan, who also liked to eat bone marrow, looked at Xiao Bei's actions and pretended to be disdainful, saying, You're so cunning. What's the point of comparing the taste? You can just say that the remaining bones aren't enough to split between each person, and I'll give them all to you. I don't think that way. You're measuring the heart of a gentleman with your own mean measure. Since you reminded me, I'll do as you say. Brother, give me the bone marrow of the other bone too. Xiao Bei had a wronged look on her face, as if everyone had misunderstood her. The few of them were eating noisily when all of a sudden, the generals finally sent someone to look for Zhang Xiaobao. They asked Zhang Xiaobao to send a few doctors over to take a look. It was unknown whether it was because they had caught a cold or because they were not acclimatized to the environment and had a stomachache. If only this could be recorded and let the soldiers know of their plan. Let's see how they can continue to lead the soldiers, Wang Wan said regretfully. Yes, even if they find someone to prove it, it won't work. However, they can't expect to lead the soldiers anymore. It's probably because they are not acclimatized to the environment and will need to be treated for a long time. What do you think of 4 months? After all, our doctors aren't gods. Their methods are limited. Zhang Xiaobao also lamented. Thus, the fate of a certain group of people was decided just like that. The doctors went over to take their pulse and then prescribe medicine. After taking the medicine, they would continue to have diarrhea. They would take their pulse again and drink the medicine again. In any case, it was fine as long as they didn't die. The peaceful night passed just like that. Some of the soldiers were discussing the seafood soup from last night. Some people didn't dare to think about that matter. After hearing that the general's stomachs were all bad, they could only sigh and sigh. A day later, Kuyu still hadn't recovered. A trace of waxy yellow appeared on his ruddy face. There were obvious dark circles around his eyes. General Kuyu, I wonder if your body is better? I keep feeling that it's not because you are not acclimatized to the environment. Later, I will find a few better doctors to come over and take a look at the general. I think it's because of the soup. The others didn't have stomachs. It's because they didn't drink the soup. Wait for me to investigate in detail. Zhang Xiaobao took 2 kinds of fruits and found a cabin where they could stay, and said to Li Yundong. Looking at Zhang Xiaobao's eyes, Kuyu suddenly had a feeling that Zhang Xiaobao knew about this matter. Moreover, he was the one who arranged it. Otherwise, how could it be so coincidental? He usually didn't change the soup, but changed it yesterday? And it was changed at such a good time. He had drunk it before. There was definitely no mistake with the soup. The taste was not bad. In addition, all the generals who had diarrhea said that they were not acclimatized to the environment after being examined by different doctors. Wasn't this too much of a coincidence? After thinking about it carefully, Kuyu didn't dare to let Zhang Xiaobao investigate. If he wanted to investigate, as long as he checked all the links, he believed that someone would accidentally say it. As a result, he hurriedly advised, Governor Zhang, you don't have to waste your energy. It's fine as long as the soldiers are fine. I thought it was also because I was not acclimatized to the environment. I am a person who knows my own body well. It doesn't seem like I ate something wrong. Please wait a moment, Governor Zhang. I will be back soon. However, as Tuyu was speaking, he did not care whether it was rude for him to not accompany Zhang Xiaobao. He clutched his stomach and staggered outside. The sun shone on his forehead, and it was obvious that he was sweating. Zhang Xiaobao fiddled with the teacup on the table and said to the servant standing to the side, Your general is so pitiful. The servant nodded in agreement, but didn't say anything. He also realized that Zhang Xiaobao didn't come here to visit sincerely. Otherwise, how could he have taken the pear? It was obvious that the big white pear had a lot of water in it. Moreover, it was of the cold attribute. Who would dare to eat it? Help me. After a while, Kuyu came back. His footsteps were more and more staggered. He held the door frame with one hand and clutched his clothes with the other. His voice was trembling. Zhang Xiaobao stood up kindly and helped Kuyu to the couch. He asked with concern, General Kuyu, why don't you go back to the Song Mo Commander-in-Chief's office first and get someone else here? Otherwise, how will you command? Recently, Adjutant Wang has been looking for an opportunity to train and cooperate in battle. General is not here. I don't know if Adjutant Wang can send the orders well. Train? How to train? Kuyu momentarily forgot the pain in his stomach and asked with uncertainty. In battle, you have to listen to one person's orders. Otherwise, it will be chaotic. Adjutant Wang originally wanted General Kuyu to be the highest-ranking general. Everyone else will listen to General Kuyu. However, with General's current condition, if you drag your illness and take care of things, you probably won't get better, right? Zhang Xiaobao patiently explained. Kuyu, who wasn't stupid, understood that this was to seize power. Although he wasn't afraid of seizing the real power from today onwards, he reckoned that he would lose the command authority for a period of time. In an instant, Kuyu suddenly regretted. He suddenly realized that things weren't as simple as he thought. He shouldn't have wanted Croton in the first place. Didn't the other party finally find the opportunity? Governor Zhang, this matter isn't urgent. General will get better tomorrow. How about we discuss it again then? Yes, tomorrow. Kuyu didn't want to give up power and said to Zhang Xiaobao with a firm gaze. Chapter 804. The water was still flowing, and the mountains were still beautiful. The fleet was still on its way to the desert. There were no changes to the food. In the morning, there were steamed buns or steamed buns. In the evening, there were 2 vegetarian dishes and 1 meat dish. The night watch had an extra cup of strong wine. The difference was that when they passed by the Jing River, there were many women who came on board. The local brothel offered a lot of money, and they only needed to stay for 3 days. When the time came, they would send someone to send them back. As a result, there were more singing and dancing on the ship, as well as the smiles of the soldiers. When the women came, they were told that they were there to encourage the soldiers who were about to go to the border to kill. There was money to be made, and they felt that the people they needed to serve might stain the battlefield with blood. These brothel women did their best, and they did not forget to accompany the soldiers and encourage them to kill more enemies. Sir, don't be anxious. Let this concubine dance for you again. Tonight, this concubine is yours. The voices in the cabin made the expression of Wang Wan, who was standing outside and admiring the night scene with Zhang Xiaobao, very ugly. Zhang Xiaobao, what are you doing? You're actually finding women for them. Do you need to get some drugs? Listen to the voices coming out now. Do women have no place in your heart? Wang Wan really could not bear the unbearable sounds. Zhang Xiaobao looked at Wang Wan with a strange expression and replied, "Where do I get drugs? What's wrong with finding women? Everyone is happy. Some can get money, and some can enjoy gentleness. No matter what, they are still soldiers. They are much better than those weak people. Everyone gets what they need. Don't stare at me. When did I say that women have no place? Why don't we go back to the cabin and not listen, or go take a look?" But suddenly, he is a good person. He has persisted for so many days. He needs to be nourished. Otherwise, it is easy to die on the road. Wang Wan also knew that Zhang Xiaobao was right. This matter had nothing to do with whether women had a place or not. Since they chose this line of work, they should follow the rules. She had never heard of any country or dynasty that could put an end to this. She also knew that if she said anything more, Zhang Xiaobao would question her. Were the officials good people? Can't we talk about it? When that time came, he would really be speechless. The so-called act of attacking someone was just deceiving oneself. The person who was attacking was doing it, so he wouldn't have the confidence to fight back. Just as he was about to follow Zhang Xiaobao's instructions and return to the cabin to rest, the sound of drums came from the cabin where the woman's teasing voice came from. No, it wasn't the sound of drums. It was the sound of someone slapping the table and the deck of the boat. He didn't know how to find it, but it just matched the sound of drums. The only thing missing was the vibration. Then there was the sound of footsteps and someone singing, "The wine is in the luminous cup, and the lute urges us to drink. Don't laugh while lying drunk on the battlefield." Since ancient times, how many people have returned from war? This is a poem we secretly came up with, right? Their singing sounds pretty good. Let's go and have a look. Hearing the familiar words, Wang Wan pulled Zhang Xiaobao's hand and came to the outside of the cabin. The door of the cabin was only half closed. From this angle, they could see the looks of some women. At this time, there were 4 women in the cabin. 2 were slapping the table and the deck of the boat. 1 was holding a hujia and preparing to play it, and the other was dancing and singing. No matter how one looked at the dance, one couldn't see any gentleness in it. It gave people the feeling that it was a man dancing, especially when the woman was dancing. Her eyes revealed a kind of coldness and biting coldness. This was the first time Wang Wan saw a woman in a brothel. Originally, her impression of such a woman was that kind of woman who accompanied people to drink, accompanied them in their father's arms, and then spread her legs on the bed. Who would have thought that the woman dancing didn't give people the feeling that she was frivolous at all? The dancing woman was turning her body when she suddenly saw a big boy and a big girl outside. She was a little embarrassed and immediately made a mistake in her movements. "Let's go, don't look. It's not good to disturb people." Zhang Xiaobao pulled Wang Wan and left. "This woman doesn't feel like someone from a brothel." Wang Wan whispered, "This is a real brothel woman. Not only does she have to be beautiful, but she also has to know how to play the zither, go, calligraphy, and painting. If it was in our time, any one of them would be a talented woman. It's just that our people back then were not good enough and disgraced this reputation. Back then, those who had 1 or 2 points of the current brothel women's level were already celebrities. Zhang Xiaobao explained to Wang Wan, "Why are you always mocking people?" Wang Wan curled her lips. "Can't I tell the truth?" "Of course not. Some things can be done, but can't be said." "Well, let's go see what can be done, but can't be said. I don't know if he is willing to hand over the military power now. If he is still stubbornly holding on, I have already prepared the best wood and linen clothes for him." Asterisk, 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 asterisk. The song is singing. The dance is dancing. The night is long without knowing. The joy will be found at dawn. General, accompany me to drink this cup of wine. I wish you victory at the start. A woman sang and danced. When she came near Kutu, she held a cup of wine in her hand. She wanted to lean on him, but hesitated, stopped, and spoke softly. Suddenly, without her leaning, he leaned against the wall of the boat. He looked at the beautiful woman beside him, then looked at the wine in his cup. He shook his head helplessly and said weakly, "This general appreciates the young lady's good intentions. This general appreciates the young lady's good intentions. Young lady, please rest early." "General, that won't do. The person who found me said that I must satisfy you. At the very least, I want you to enjoy yourself." The woman shook her head vigorously. Her gaze was firm. "I've enjoyed myself to my heart's content. Oh, go and tell the person who brought the girl here that I've been tired these days and will have to rely on Adjunct Wang for many matters in the army. Ask Governor Zhang to have a talk with General Wang about military power." Kutu, whose eyes were deeply sunken, used all his strength to move to the corner. He was afraid that the woman beside him would stick to him. The woman was easy to talk to. She drank the wine herself, got up and walked out while saying to you, "Then this concubine will take her leave for now. If the general misses this concubine, send someone to find this concubine, and I will come immediately." "Okay, sure. Kutu seemed to have used all his strength to say this sentence. Watching the woman leave, he sighed helplessly. He knocked his head on the deck of the ship, rolled his eyes, and opened his mouth to gasp for breath. Kutu finally decided to hand over the military power. It turned out that he had drugged himself. After eating it, he had a stomachache. Later, a doctor came. From then on, he didn't feel well. A few days later, his diarrhea was cured. He had red spots all over his body. When he didn't sleep, he was always in a daze. When he slept, he couldn't fall asleep. When he got rid of the red spots, he couldn't eat them. He was so suffocated that he wished he could die. He was cured again. This time, he had another stomachache. If he couldn't figure out what was going on after a few more times, he would really be a fool. Military power. It was all because of military power. He heard that the generals of other prefectures had already handed over their military power. Now, they were living comfortably. If he insisted on not handing it over, he could easily die on the way. "Zhang Xiaobao, I finally know you. Don't let me get better. Otherwise, I won't let it end. Aya, it's so uncomfortable. Aya, someone get me some wine." After lying down for a while, Kutu felt hungry. He sullenly shouted, but only the guards standing guard at the door could hear him. "General, you can't drink anymore. If you always rely on wine, you will be finished." The person at the door advised with concern. "Today is the last time. As long as I eat, I will vomit. I will be fine tomorrow. Once I hand over my military power, this general will quickly get better." Kutu licked his dry lips and still wanted to drink. "General, why don't I take your order and gather the brothers to threaten Zhang Xiaobao?" The guard suggested. "Then I will die even faster. At that time, Zhang Xiaobao will lock up his doctors and say that their methods are not good enough. When they return, they will be punished. Then he will ask me to find a doctor myself. Tell me, which doctor will dare to treat me? Won't he directly poison me to death? Go, give me the wine. Go to the door and welcome Governor Zhang. He should be here soon." Kutu's heart was like a mirror. If it were him, he would do the same. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who originally wanted to come and visit Kutu, suddenly received the news. They looked at each other and laughed at the same time. Xiao Bao, are you satisfied now? You almost tormented him to death. Wang Wan felt carefree. She hugged Zhang Xiaobao's arm and laughed. Don't talk nonsense. I am sparing no effort to help General Ku Tu get better. When did I torment him? He is also a person. Even when he is in pain, he still thinks about the army. He wants to put the lives of countless people in your hands. This is a person with a sense of responsibility. I hope he can get better as soon as possible. My Buddha, above, amen. Don't draw a cross anymore. Who draws a cross from the bottom to the top? If you draw it a little lower, it will be inserted into your navel. I know you don't like any religion, even the two parties. But don't show it. Wang Wan pulled Zhang Xiaobao and jogged towards a place where they could break through. Wrong. I like all religions and parties, so I made it a little messy. I believe that a true God can tolerate everything. Those who attack other religions do not truly understand God's intentions. This time, only the song Mo Commander-in-Chief's office was not included. We are about to succeed. Yes, it was not annexed. Hurry. I am afraid he can't hold on. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan saw the skinny Ku Tu when they were bickering. They talked in the cabin. Without a fourth person knowing, they obtained the official seal of the song Mo Commander-in-Chief's office. The next day, Ku Tu's body was much better. At least he could eat some porridge and not continue to vomit. It was said that his heart disease was only cured after he let go of his worries. On the night he recovered, a pigeon flew to the capital. It also brought an order to transfer troops. On it was the seal of Ku Tuesday. Chapter 805. But Tu would never have thought that Zhang Xiaobao did not want his seal to command the people on the ship, or that his ultimate goal was not only the people on the ship. The letter was first sent to the capital, where Ku Tu's letter to the imperial court was found. All the letters were gathered together, and then someone was found to imitate Ku Tu's handwriting to mobilize the other soldiers of the song Mo Commandery. As for the generals sent by the other commander-in-chief's manors, those who had a say in the matter would also send fake letters back to mobilize their troops. These troops would be dispersed and sent to various parts of the Great Tang. Li Sun of Shuzhou was assigned 10,000 soldiers from the Song Mo Commander-in-Chief's manor and 5,000 soldiers from the Bohai Commander-in-Chief's manor. He, on the other hand, sent 20,000 soldiers from Shuzhou. A series of methods such as bribery, suppression, roping, and assassination were used. It could be said that there was no big chaos, but there was constant small chaos. It wasn't that there weren't any capable people in the various martial manors, but even if they could tell, they didn't have the strength. This time, the generals that were sent to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were all good at fighting. Their purpose was to learn from Wang Wan's abilities and at the same time, to act as a strong presence to deter Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao from acting rashly. There were not many people in each commandery. In the beginning, 160,000 people were sent from Jili province, and 40,000 real soldiers were sent away. When they saw the transfer order and the soldiers from other commanderies came, they wanted to object, but they did not have enough strength. Those who strongly objected either suddenly died of illness or accidentally hit their heads on wood or tiles that fell from high places when they were walking. Some people suddenly became rich, and the things they used were the same as the Tang Empire's ministers. These people were inclined to let the Tang Empire and the Tang Empire's military force exchange. In the name of sending soldiers into the Tang Empire, they could know the Tang people's livelihood and lead the Tang soldiers into the Tang Empire, so they could know the Tang army's military force. He had seen their battle prowess, but he was not clear about their specific battle prowess. However, the weapons and armor they used were not just a little bit better than those of the martial manor. This was especially true for the soldiers from Shuzhou. Their discipline was so strict that they could be ordered around like an arm. Li Sun actually personally came to the martial manor of Song Mo to take charge. The rest of the people didn't object to the recall of the soldiers, but they didn't agree either. Some said that they were sick and went home to rest. Some felt like they were in a dream all day long. They seemed helpless, but they also seemed to be waiting for the day when the elite soldiers that were sent out returned. None of the generals were aware of these matters, so the news could not be transmitted. Firstly, the fleet was moving too quickly to travel on land, and secondly, the important checkpoints on land were guarded by soldiers. All non-Tang fast horses were stopped, and this was even more so on the rivers. When Kutuyu's body was completely healed, and the fleet was only a few days' journey from the shore to the desert, and when he regained his military power, the commander-in-chief's mansions in Hebei province were basically settled. Letters were sent back and forth between the capital and Jili prefecture. When the Bohai commander-in-chief manor sent someone to deliver a letter saying that this autumn, the commander-in-chief manor was willing to pay the taxes of the 5 capitals and 62 prefectures, Li Longji felt like he was in a dream. How could this be? Li Longji shook his head vigorously and confirmed the matter in the letter again. He seemed to be talking to himself. Your Majesty, it's already midsummer. Back then, Xiaobao and Cuckoo promised Your Majesty that the Bohai commander-in-chief manor would pay the taxes this year, Gao Lisher explained. I know they said it, but what I want to know is not what they said, but why is the Bohai commander-in-chief manor willing to pay? Is it because they said it the reason? Could it be that they said that I can fly in the sky tomorrow, and I will also... Oh, I have already flown once. Let's not talk about flying or not. What other methods did they use? They can't be afraid of the Bohai commander-in-chief manor just because Bai sent 10,000 soldiers to the Bohai commander-in-chief manor. There are hundreds of thousands of people there. If they lose 5,000 soldiers, they will have 10,000 more soldiers. They will still have the strength to fight. Li Longji spoke smoothly, but his eyes were full of confusion. How could such a difficult thing be done by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan as if it was a game? That was the Bohai commander-in-chief manor, far away from Jili prefecture. Even if the great Tang wanted to attack, it was too far away. Could it be that he was moved by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's portraits? The 2 children were good-looking, and there were portraits of them since they were young on the wall, but this was definitely not the reason. When Gao Lisher heard the emperor's words, he had an impulse to laugh, but he suppressed it and explained, Your Majesty, of course, it is not Xiaobao and Cuckoo's words, but they will do what they say. A few days ago, Lu Zhou sent another 20 gunships to the Bohai Bay to fight the pirates. They killed more than 1,100 pirate ships, killed countless pirates, and gave a large amount of silk to the Bohai commander-in-chief manor to help the people who were hurt by the pirates. The Bohai commander-in-chief manor did not only send 5,000 soldiers, but 15,000. The other 10,000 soldiers followed Xiaobao and Cuckoo to protect the desert near Jinchuan. Your Majesty can think of it this way. The Bohai commander-in-chief manor lost 15,000 soldiers. Although the loss of 5,000 soldiers was too sudden for him, and they were transferred away without his order, it was still too little. How many soldiers could there be in a few 100,000? Their navy and pirate ships were almost no match for the pirates, so Xiaobao and Cuckoo sent out gunships to help him. I guess the great martial arts commander-in-chief was moved by the selfless help of our heavenly soldiers. Your Majesty, you are very kind. You sent 20 gunships to kill all the navy of the Bohai commander-in-chief manor? No, you wiped out all the pirates? You also gave a lot of silk, which should be collected from the nearby state capital, right? Why didn't I know? Li Longji finally understood. No wonder the great martial arts commander-in-chief, who wanted to fight against the great Tang, suddenly became easy to talk to. They took the initiative to pay the taxes and no longer wanted to establish normal trade with the great Tang. It turned out that it was because of His Majesty's kindness. It was just that when His Majesty's kindness shone, he was not aware of it. Gao Lisher knew that the emperor was not happy. The main problem was not whether the emperor knew the situation over there or not, but that the difficult thing became simple in the hands of Xiaobao and Cuckoo. It was a bit of a blow to the emperor. He hurriedly tried to persuade, Your Majesty. At that time, Your Majesty said that Xiaobao and Cuckoo were fully in charge of the matters in the north of Hebei province. They did not need to report too much and only sent a letter when the imperial court sent troops. Therefore, your majesty did not know. I only knew about it the day before yesterday. I was afraid that the great martial arts commander-in-chief would not submit a letter to the capital. So I did not directly tell your majesty. Your majesty, it seems simple, but it is not. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo used almost half of the wealth of the Zhang family and the Wang family for this matter. They bribed, roped in, and distributed it to the civilians. In the letter, they told me that since they came to Jili province, they slept at most 8 hours a day. They also discussed with me that when the north of Hebei province was settled down, they would help me to ask for more benefits from your majesty. This time, they lost a lot of money, so I don't know if I should ask for more benefits. Oh, they also suffered a lot. They want to ask for benefits for me? They have occupied a large area in the north of Hebei province. Can't they make up for their losses? Li Longji's heart was balanced. Considering Zhang Xiaobao's ability to make money, he did not think that they could not make up for their losses. Your majesty means to let the two of them occupy the entire north of Hebei province? It is difficult to go to Hunan province by land. The two of them also have naval gunboats. The whole area is full of mountains and dense forests. When Cuckoo led 10,000 troops to the mountains near Ruoshui in Jinchuan, she played the classic jungle strategy. The strong protection team of the Zhang family and the Wang family can be said to come and go like ghosts in the mountains and forests. Even Li Sun, the Prince of Tang, also has 1,000 troops that are specially suitable for jungle warfare. Your Majesty, are you really going to let Xiao Bao and Cuckoo establish a foothold in the north of Hebei province? Gao Lishir saw that the emperor was a little confused, so he had to analyze the matter and let the emperor sober up and not be carried away by happy things. Li Longji was stunned. Yes, what Lishir said is right. It can be trusted, but it can't be unguarded. What is Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's plan? Do they want to occupy that area? Replying to your majesty, Xiao Bao is considering that he can't stay in the north of Hebei province, so he wants to get benefits from other places. He said that in the future, there will be dozens of prefectures. Those who are not filial piety will not be sent. Those who do not love the people as their own children will not be sent. And those who are not court officials will not be sent. Even if they are sent, they will be changed every 3 years. They will leave their families in the capital, one official and one deputy. The official is a civil official who is only in charge of civil affairs. The deputy is a military general who is only in charge of defense. After 3 years, the civil official will be sent there to learn and familiarize himself with the situation there. When the predecessor leaves, the successor will be directly appointed. The same is true for the military general. However, they will not have the right to go there 1 year in advance. In this way, they will not be afraid of rebellion. The navy will be managed by someone else. All the generals and civil officials will have to build roads after they take office. Gao Lishir took out a piece of paper from his bosom and read the words written on it to Li Longji. Li Longji nodded and suddenly asked, "If there is a battle, what should we do if we can't fully understand the soldiers after only 1 year? Retreat. If we can't win, come back. The imperial court will then send elite troops to fight. Your Majesty, there is no need to worry that someone will attack there. Whether it is the Turks or Silla, as long as they attack, the capital can send troops to attack from both sides. Besides, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo don't seem to intend to let the Turks and Silla be as free as they are now. It's just that they don't have the time. Your Majesty, the two of them are still young." Gao Lishir revealed a little of the matter that his godson had mentioned. The main reason was that he had received a map. This map did not look like the current map of the Great Tang. It was much larger than the current one, even though the words Map of the Great Tang were written on it. Li Longji finally recovered from the emotions in the letter from the Bohai Commander-in-Chief's office. Having become smarter, he immediately understood the meaning in Gao Lishir's words. The two of them still want to fight? If they keep fighting, they'll die. It doesn't seem like many people will die. The side that dies the most is the other side. Did the two of them mention anything about benefits? They didn't say. If Xiao Bao did, Your Majesty, you will definitely. Gao Lisher stuttered and did not finish a sentence. Li Longji understood. If Xiao Bao mentioned benefits at this time, he should think of a way to stop him. He could not let him easily achieve his goal. He did not believe that he would lose every time. Lisher, find some time to write a letter to the two of them. Tell them that I said that if they don't want any benefits, I will exempt their family from 3 years of tax. If they don't want to be exempt from tax, they will have to rely on their own abilities. Li Longji basically wanted to directly say that they would have to rely on their own abilities. However, after thinking carefully, if that was the case, it would be unfair to Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. They had cleaned up such a large area. If they won this time, they would really suffer a loss. If they were angry and stopped playing, he would lose a kind of fun, although his chances of winning were not that big. Your subject obeys. What else could Gao Lisher say? He could only agree. He did not understand why the emperor was so free. He was usually very nice, but when it came to Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, he had to lower himself to the children's level. At this time, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also received the news from Shui Yun. There was a small chaos in the north of Hebei province. The Wusher of Bohai Commandery had been tormented. Whether he really submitted or not, as long as he acknowledged the position once, they would have an excuse to beat him up if he did not want to do it in the future. Was the relationship of sovereignty something that could be casually acknowledged? Xiaobao, you can send a letter to Chai Zuzan of Tubo. Ask him to send troops to help fight Duo Shi. I won't even ask if he is supporting Duo Shi. Let's see if he will send troops or not. Wang Wan saw that the matter in Jili province was more or less settled. She began to make a move against Tubo again. Zhang Xiaobao immediately wrote a letter to ask Chai Zuzan to send troops to eliminate the bandits Duo Shi. News came that the Duo Shi in the desert continued to increase their troops. Originally, there were only 100 people left. Now, there were 2,000 people. Their weapons were also stronger than before. Everyone was given a horse. Furthermore, they did not continue to attack the Haloxylon ammonite trees. Instead, they set up camp. It seemed like they were preparing for a big move. Until now, it was still impossible to guess which side was supporting them. If it was supporting them, it was possible that it was from either side. The supplies for the 2,000 people had always been sent by the Duo Shi to the two places to exchange for other things. As for whether they used things worth 1 copper coin to exchange for supplies worth 1 copper coin, it was not clear. If they could get news of the exchange, they would know that whoever exchanged with the Duo Shi was the one supporting them. Then it would be impossible not to fight. They had more than 40,000 people. If they did not consume some, how could they train their troops? After the letter was written, he asked someone to send it to Tubo at the fastest speed. Zhang Xiaobao called Ku Tuyu and the other generals over to discuss the matters of the upcoming battle. That's how it is. Let's see if Tubo will send people or not. When the time comes, we may fight with the Tujue or Tubo. Everyone should be prepared. Zhang Xiaobao told them about the letter he had written to the Tubo Zuzan, which could be considered as a pre-war mobilization. Some of the generals only knew how to fight and were slower to react. They did not understand the meaning behind it and left to find their own troops. Some of them had a calm expression on the surface, but their hearts were in turmoil. Ku Tuyu was one of them. After leaving the cabin where Zhang Xiaobao was having a meeting, he did not look for his own troops. Instead, he returned to his own cabin and started to think about things. General, are we really going to help Zhang Xiaobao and the others fight? If we only fight Tubo, it is fine. If we fight the Tujue, our Soma commander-in-chief's manor will be easily targeted by the Tujue. An advisor who had also returned asked Ku Tuyu worriedly. Fight. No matter who we fight, we have to fight. If we don't fight the Tujue, Zhang Xiaobao will fight us. They are forcing us to do something beyond our ability. But Tuyu didn't hesitate at all, and immediately expressed his attitude. General, do they dare? The advisor still did not wish to fight the Tujue. What is there that they don't dare to do? This time, he wrote a letter to Tubo and asked them to send troops. It sounded simple, but it was not the case at all. If Tubo sent troops, they would offend Polysher. They were afraid that Tubo would support Polysher. At that time, Polysher would feel that they were cheated and would take revenge on Tubo. If Tubo did not send troops, it would be even simpler. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Rong could announce that Jin Chuan and Ruo Shui did not belong to Tubo. Otherwise, why would they not send troops? Then, they would use Tubo's unilateral destruction of friendship as an excuse to stop the food exchange with Tubo. It was summer now, and Tubo was lacking in food. If Tubo could not help but send troops to attack Zhang Xiaobao, that would be even better. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan would directly send troops to attack Tubo. Furthermore, they would not use Great Tang's people. If they died, they would not feel any heartache. They would let us attack, head-on, and disregard the losses. Wang Wan would then lead the elite troops and fight for thousands of miles. Tubo would be completely destroyed. Even if all of our people died and we did not win against Tubo this time, Great Tang would use this opportunity to send troops again. Would Tubo still have people to fight? This is called strategy. We should not have let the two of them go to Jili province. It would have been good if we did not force Li Longji like that. We finally forced him into a corner. Sigh. However, he suddenly regretted it. He finally saw how powerful Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were. These two people were the treasured swords in Li Longji's hands. They were the kind of swords that would definitely see blood when they were unsheathed. After the 40,000 people walked for a few days on the shore, when they were still 2 days away from the desert, Zuzhenchide of Tubo also received a letter sent by Zhang Xiaobao. He read it again, and the more he read, the more worried he became. Who came up with the idea to dig a hole in Wangjiang County in Shuzhou? Investigate again. Those who are lucky enough to survive, capture them and kill them. Zuzhenchide stayed in the palace of Princess Li Nunu of Jincheng and gave an order to the people waiting at the side. This order was baffling. Why did Zuzhenchide remember it after such a long time? Princess Jincheng did not see the letter. She was a Tang person, but she could not do anything about the affairs of both sides, let alone put in much effort. When she heard Zuzhenchide's order, she went closer and advised, Zuzhenchide, if you kill more people, I'm afraid it will chill the hearts of the people. If I don't kill them, I won't be able to appease the hatred in my heart. If not for the person who came up with the idea and made the move, why would Wang Wan come to attack us? If not for them, why would we allow them to stir up the economy of Jianan Circuit? If not, why would Zhang Xiaobao take revenge? Now they are here again, and this time they are even more powerful than before. It's an army of 40,000. Should we fight or not? Since Zuzhenchide could not find trouble with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, he could only find fault with his own people. Chapter 806. After hesitating for a while, Zhu Zan still agreed to send troops. However, he wasn't stupid. He sent the troops, but he sent the logisticians. He said that Governor Zhang and Adjunct Wang came from afar, and it was inconvenient for them to get supplies. Thus, Tubo was willing to send the little bit of provisions over as reinforcements. He also thanked Governor Zhang and Adjunct Wang for helping Tubo fight against foreign enemies. The letter was filled with grievances, saying that the people of Tubo did not have enough to eat or wear, saying that the soldiers of Tubo were so thin that they were just skin and bones, saying that the number of livestock in Tubo had decreased sharply, and countless children were crying piteously for food. After reading the letter, it was hard for people not to cry. Tubo was really not easy. But even in such a difficult time, other than sending logisticians, Zhu Zan also specially prepared a big gift for Governor Zhang and Adjunct Wang. 100 yaks, both male and female. If it was at the start, Zhu Zan would only care about Wang Wan. After all, Wang Wan's battle prowess was the most direct. But now he was more afraid of Zhang Xiaobao. Wang Wan's viciousness was nothing more than mountains of corpses and rivers of blood. But as long as there were people around, they would be able to restrain this demon. Zhang Xiaobao was different. When he fought, he was like a ghost. He would use all kinds of sinister moves. What was weak was the will of the people. After 2 years of torment, when he wanted to attack Tang Empire, the first thing he was afraid of was not the generals, but the ordinary civilians. Even the slaves didn't want to provoke them. Sigh. Let's do it this way. When we exchange with the Duo people, let people pretend to be bandits and kill them. We can't let the two of them get a hold of us. Nu, how are you these few days? After Zhu Zan arranged everything, he gently hugged Princess Jincheng's waist and asked with concern. Princess Jincheng also nodded gently and said, Zan Pu is good to me, so I'm naturally doing well. Zan Pu has been tired for many days. Let me serve him and rest. Princess Jincheng was very conflicted in her heart. Her position was rather awkward. She hoped that Tubo and Great Tang would have a good relationship, but she knew that it was impossible. When she came here, she was nothing more than a tool. One of the people she was supposed to be betrothed to died, so she couldn't go back. She had to marry another one. In the beginning, he did not have a good life. Because of his identity, it was impossible for him not to be ostracized. However, ever since Wang Wan led the army to war, his life became better day by day. No one in Tubo dared to disrespect him anymore. Even Zan Pu had to give in to him a little. Now that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were once again in Tubo territory, the house they lived in was renovated again and again. Their daily necessities were also several times more than what the others had. Perhaps this was what Zhang Xiaobao had said at Pengzhou Pass, that weak countries had no diplomacy. It was said that the villagers of the Zhang and Wang families were treated with respect by outsiders, and no one dared to frame or bully them. He was a villager of the Great Tang. The stronger the master, the more comfortable his life would be. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't have the mood to care about Princess Jincheng. According to the saying, a married lady was like spilled water. They couldn't find Princess Jincheng and tell her to go back to Tang Empire and not play with Zhu Zanqi anymore. From now on, as long as I'm alive, I won't allow Tang Empire to use women to seek a moment of peace. This is a disgrace to you men. Wang Wan received Zhu Zanqi's letter and gift. At the same time, she also received a letter from Princess Jincheng. In the letter, she asked about some things in Tang Empire. She also said that she had a good life in Tubo. Everyone gave in to her, and she didn't have to worry about food and drink. When she wanted to play, she could go out with a group of people protecting her. The letter was right, but Wang Wan could tell that Princess Jincheng missed Tang Empire. So, she solemnly swore an oath and looked at Zhang Xiaobao. Why are you looking at me? I didn't ask her to get married. At the very least, these married women can reduce the number of deaths in Tang Empire. Also, it can promote the integration of the different races and leave a deep mark in history, causing the various races to... Alright, stop acting like a historian. Aren't you being hypocritical? Zhu Zanqi is really a scammer. Yaks are good things. But is he stupid? Is there a need to turn 100 yaks into 50 males and 50 females? Men know how to find a few more women. Why must the yaks be monogamous? He did it on purpose. If not, the more females there are, the faster the reproduction rate. Also, we can't bring the yaks back to the capital to raise. They won't be able to acclimatize to the environment. Let's just leave them here. We still have to tell Li Longji that we are raising these 100 yaks together with him. Next year, we can cut some of their hair to make blankets for him. Then, we can pick a male yak that can be killed and let him taste it. Wang Wan didn't wait for Zhang Xiaobao to finish his words and interrupted him. She started to worry about the yaks. Zhang Xiaobao suddenly realized that he couldn't keep up with Wang Wan's thoughts. The yaks don't seem to be important. What's more important is Zhu Zanqi's reaction. It seems that they are really related to the polycannibals. Otherwise, why would they only send logisticians? How can Tubo's logisticians be compared to our logisticians? I have decided to stay here for at least 3 months, and at most half a year. I can't wait any longer. There are still many places that need to be occupied. I can't play with the surrounding small countries. We have to deal with the Tujua and Tubo as soon as possible. We can use them to raise cattle and sheep, and also use them as a springboard to deal with the north of Hebei province. They have sent out a total of 40,000 soldiers. We can use them to suppress the Tubo and Tujue. When they can't suppress the Tubo and Tujue anymore, we can ask the commander-in-chief to send more soldiers. If we don't agree, we will destroy our friendship. If we agree, we will conserve our strength. What about the imperial court? Your father is going to enter the capital soon. Zhang Shuo hasn't made any moves yet. Li Lingfu's position has changed slightly. Wang Maozhong and Gu Fushun are still related by marriage. You have to act quickly. I don't want to be caught in the political whirlpool again. Wang Wan didn't object to Zhang Xiaobao's plan of using troops, which meant that she agreed. She changed the topic and returned to the imperial court. It's still early. Let's talk about it later. The most important thing now is to get in touch with the Pala cannibals. It wasn't easy for them to come here. Wouldn't it be a pity to kill them casually? While Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were busy with the big plan, Xiao Bei and the other kids couldn't sit still and were busy with the small plan. 100 guards in their teens received the order and began to make kites. They went to the mountains to find branches, paper, and gunpowder. To be precise, they threw cannons. Can this wind really blow over there tomorrow? How dare they cut down my haloxylon tree? I think they ate a bear's heart and swallowed a leopard's gall. Xiao Bei put his finger in his mouth and took it out to feel the wind. He muttered angrily. Chapter 807. The wind changed direction before dawn, blowing towards the Duo Eater's camp. The person who reported the weather for Xiao Bei and the others received a silver coin. It was a silver coin that was popular among Xiao Bei and the others. If the person who received it couldn't buy the products of Xiao Bei and the others, they could use the silver coin to make jewelry for their children. With the wind, a sunny day was the best time to fly a kite. More than 100 children ignored the dust in the desert and carefully flew the kites one by one. Release! Xiao Bei shouted. The ropes in the hands of 3 young guards broke one after another. The 3 kites in the sky flew freely towards the Duo Eater's camp. They descended in the air and finally landed a few dozen feet away from the Duo Eater's camp. The older brother immediately calculated the height of the kites. Under the condition that the wind speed didn't change, some of the kite strings were retracted, while some were released. Second brother, will it work? Xiao Bei asked uncertainly. Xiao Hai smacked his lips twice. It should work, right? I've calculated it before. I'll trust you this time. Prepare the child kites. Hang. Xiao Bei selectively believed in his older brother's calculation skills and shouted to the other guards. The young guard immediately picked up the child kite even more cautiously. Originally, the child kite would fall from the mother kite after the child kite followed the string and hit the mother kite. This time, a magnet was used. Not only would the child kite not close, but it would stick to the mother kite. More than 100 kite strings hung on the kites and flew upwards against the wind. When they reached the peak, Xiao Bei gave another command, and all the kite strings were cut. They floated down towards the man-eater's camp. The final result proved that no matter how talented a child was, it was impossible to accurately calculate the landing point of the kites. The fine structure of each kite, the changes in wind speed, the relationship between buoyancy and gravity, let alone Xiao Hai, even Wang Wan, a genius student like her, wouldn't be able to calculate the final result. More than 100 kites fell everywhere. Some of them didn't have any reaction after landing, while some burst into flames. Even so, Xiao Bei's plan could be considered a success. Nearly 40 kites landed on the duo's tents. With the impact, most of them burst into flames. Coupled with the oil and cotton that the kites carried, the flames grew bigger with the help of the wind. By the time the cannibals reacted and wanted to put out the fire, it was already too late. All the tents that were set on fire by the kites were turned into piles of fire, and dozens of people were even burned. Yeah, who asked you to chop down my haloxylon shuttle tree? Without the haloxylon shuttle tree, I wouldn't have the desert cistanch. Without the desert stench, I would have one less dish. My next move is called Dancing Fire Phoenix. Humph. When Xiao Bei saw the scene of the fire through his 1,000-mile vision, he waved his little fists in celebration. The shouts of the duo eater came from afar. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who had just woken up and were about to eat, came out to take a look in surprise. They thought that the duo eater had gone crazy and wanted to attack them with only 2,000 people. What's going on? Zhang Xiaobao didn't need binoculars to see that the duo eaters were living a prosperous life. Someone immediately came over. Young master, it's Xiao Bei and the others who set fire to the duo eaters' tents. It's estimated that at least 1/5 of the tents have been burned. If we don't put out the fire quickly, more will be burned when the wind blows. Who? Xiao Bei? Who ran over with her? Zhang Xiaobao didn't understand. Little young master, no one is going. This subordinate has already told the two of you the day before yesterday. Little Miss Xiao Bei and the others want to make kites, throw cannons, oil, and cotton. Didn't the two of you already know? The person who replied seemed very wronged. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan looked at each other and nodded numbly. Yes, they knew. Both of them knew. But who would have thought that Xiao Bei and the others wanted to burn the duo eaters' tents? Usually, they like to make small things for fun. They always wanted something, but not a lot. Occasionally, they could make some interesting gadgets. For example, an automatic slingshot. When a slingshot was made, the slingshot would be pulled by the rotating force of the windmill. After a certain extent, the slingshot would hit a thimble and fall. On the other side, a small stone would fall on the slingshot and be shot out by the slingshot. Sometimes, if the small stone didn't fall well, they would use many small stones to fall one after another. When they were shot out, it would be very inaccurate. Another example was an automatic fishing rod. When the fishing rod was put into the water, it wouldn't float. Only a line was stretched on the head of the fishing rod. If a fish pulled the fishing rod and it floated a lot, the other side of the line would pull the fishing rod up. Although the accuracy rate was very low, and although it wasn't practical, it was indeed a small invention. Compared to the things they made before, this kite is much more practical. We should give it a name. It should be called. Xiao Bei said it's called the Flying Fire Phoenix. The person who replied interrupted. Good name. Let's go to the front and welcome the distinguished guest from afar. Wang Wan saw that there were people in front of them and praised the name. She and Zhang Xiaobao went forward to welcome them. As for whether the trouble caused by Xiao Bei and the others was a disaster or not, that was secondary. Was it easy for children to die? Burning your camp with something that they had painstakingly invented was giving you face. You should feel honored. The duo eaters came. There weren't many of them, only 7 people. One of them was the leader. They probably knew that it was useless to have more people. They might even be beaten up. Only 7 people came to reason with them. The leader had learned the language of the Tang Empire. When he saw Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, he knew that they were the real deal. I am from the Duo Eaters Empire, he said, a long name. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't remember it. They only remembered the key name, Lard. This was the name of the Duo Eaters in front of them. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't want to know about his father, grandfather, great-grandfather, and so on. So it's Lard. Why did you destroy our haloxylon shuttle trees? Now you want to use the fire as a signal to gather people to attack our defenseless kind merchants? Zhang Xiaobao questioned Lard with a sullen face. This was Lard's first time dealing with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. He had heard about them before and had even seen their faces in pictures. According to the rumors, they were very unreasonable. Now that he saw them, he knew that the rumors were not as good as meeting them in person. The flaming kite clearly flew over from here. As soon as they touched it, they made a preemptive strike. Who would use the fire as a signal to burn his beard and clothes? Didn't they see that he was still black? It's you. You burned our camp. We didn't touch your haloxylon shuttle trees. You used despicable means to burn our camp. Lard retorted loudly. We used despicable means to burn your camp? I don't know what you're thinking. I deny it. You are insulting us. We love peace and won't use despicable means. Even if we use kind means, we won't just burn a small part of your camp. If you don't believe me, I'll let you know tonight." Zhang Xiaobao resisted and threatened with an aggrieved expression. Lard had not personally experienced Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's fear, but that didn't mean that he hadn't heard of it. When he heard that Zhang Xiaobao was going to make a move tonight, he felt uncertain and unwilling to let it end like this. He took an unlit kite from the hands of the people behind him and said, "You used this thing to burn our camp. It's called a kite, I know. Did someone fly a kite?" Zhang Xiaobao turned around and asked. In reply to the young master, Xiao Bei and the ladies just did. "Go find them." After a while, Xiao Bei, who was still excited from her victory, skipped over. "Xiao Bei, did you bully the duo eaters? Look at how you bullied them. Look at this Lard. How did you bully him? Lard, this is the person who flew the kite. You can ask her." Zhang Xiaobao carried Xiao Bei in front of Lard and lectured her, then changed the subject of Lard's reasoning. Lard was already dumbfounded. He looked at Xiao Bei's appearance and listened to Zhang Xiaobao's lecture. He used his hand to measure Xiao Bei's height, then squatted down helplessly and forced a smile at Xiao Bei. "Little girl, were you the one who burned our camp?" "No. Why would I burn down your campsite?" Xiao Bei blinked innocently and shook his head vigorously. "Then were you the one who flew the kite?" Lard took the kite and asked. "Yes, I was the one who flew the kites. I flew a lot of them. Did you see them?" Xiao Bei nodded and admitted. "That's right. The kite burned our camp. You were the one who flew the kite, so we should look for you." Lard's face turned red when he said this. Xiao Bei didn't admit it at all. "I flew the kite, but I didn't let the kite burn your camp. If the kite burned your camp, you should look for the kite. Why are you looking for me? You really can't change your mind. You were the one who flew the kite, but I didn't burn your camp. The kite burned my camp. Then go look for the kite. But you were the one who flew the kite in my camp. Are you an idiot? I flew the kite, but I didn't burn your camp. If the kite burned your camp, it's useless for you to look for me." "Oh, I understand. Are you saying that I'm not allowed to fly the kite? Are you not going to care if I eat or sleep?" "I don't care if you eat or sleep. I don't care if you fly the kite, but the kite you flew burned my camp. I only flew the kite. I didn't burn your camp. It was the kite that burned it. It's like you picked a poisonous mushroom and threw it away. I picked it up and ate it. If I get poisoned, can I look for you and tell you that you shouldn't have picked that mushroom? You can't say that. Where's my camp? The kite burned it. I'm so angry. Brother, I'm not going to talk to him anymore. He's so stupid." Xiao Bei looked very helpless. She looked at Lard with a look that said, "You should take medicine." Then she turned around and said something to Zhang Xiaobao. She didn't care about Lard anymore and skipped away. "Young Master Zhang, what do you think?" "The kite burned it," Zhang Xiaobao admitted. Chapter 808. Lard staggered out of the great Tang merchant's camp, his expression quite unsightly. Even the 7 people who came with him were filled with longing and longing. Their purpose of coming here was not to obtain any benefits from Zhang Xiaobao. They just wanted to understand Zhang Xiaobao as much as possible so that they could make use of him in the future. No matter if Zhang Xiaobao was angry or weak in front of them, they would be able to grasp a bit of Zhang Xiaobao's personality. However, they had evidently miscalculated. Zhang Xiaobao acted as if it had nothing to do with him and pushed a 5-year-old child to the front. This 5-year-old child did not seem like someone who had taught her what to say, and the conversation seemed to have come up on the spot. Listening to a 5-year-old Xiaobao talk about the relationship between the person who flew the kite and the kite made one feel a bit dazed. If it was an adult, one would be able to speak properly. But how could one explain clearly to a 5-year-old child? Everything is strange. The people from Great Qin's Zhang family and Wang family can't be judged by common sense. When Lard returned to the camp and saw some people throwing away the cannons on the kites, he concluded, "Are we going to fight or not? We can't just let them harm us once and pretend that nothing happened. A person whose beard had been burned whispered to Lard. After asking this question, he immediately shut his mouth and lowered his head to continue dismantling the kites that were not burning. He suddenly realized that he should not have asked. The other side had an army of 40,000 or so, and this did not include the slave army. With his 2,000 or so people, they would be able to return to the embrace of Allah if they charged over. Lard did not have the time to scold others for being unwise. He was still worried about the current situation. If Great Qin's people really wanted to destroy his people, they would not need to send soldiers from so far away. With 130,000 people, they would be able to crush his people into pieces with just a pinch. Lard's mission was to set up a camp here, and it would be best if he could communicate with the various factions and make them acknowledge his position. This would allow him to trade with Great Qin. Great Qin had beautiful silk, beautiful ceramics, and even tea leaves that people would get used to after drinking them. A small amount of these things had already flowed into Zhao Fu's side, and they were incredibly valuable. If they could stabilize, then... It was a pity that recently, for some reason, Great Qin's emperor, who had always been very open-minded, had actually sealed off all of the checkpoints, not allowing merchants to bring out things that were considered ordinary to Great Qin, but were good things to Great Qin. There were simply too few goods shipped out through Tubo and Turkic Khaganate. More importantly, the prices were much higher than in the Great Qin Empire. After seeing how the Tibetans were constantly harassing Great Qin did not do anything too excessive and even opened up more channels of communication. As such, Zhao Fu decided to learn from Great Qin and sent people to burn the haloxylon shuttle trees that Great Qin's people had planted in the desert. Zhao Fu had thought that Great Qin's merchants would give up a portion of their profits for peace. However, after making a move, he found that things were not as they had expected. The people here were not willing to compromise at all. Now he knew that the so-called Chamber of Commerce was not a simple trading team. The power behind them was frighteningly big. They actually brought over 40,000 soldiers from such a long distance and didn't fight, but just set up camp. What was their purpose? Or rather, what kind of goal did he want to achieve? 2000 or so people aren't worth me making a move. Once we destroy them, we won't have any excuse to stay here. Xiao Bao, help me think of a way to drag in the Turks and Tubo. In about half a month, Kutuyu will receive news from the northern region of Hebei province. Back then, we took their seals to give them the misconception that we were trying to rope in their people. We did that, and a small portion of them agreed to come with us after the battle. If Kutuyu finds out that he's going to be a figurehead, he might suddenly turn against us. I don't want any of my people to die, so give me an idea. Wang Wan was quite surprised at how smart Xiao Bei and the others were, and she started to think of a strategy. In terms of scheming and plotting, she trusted Zhang Xiaobao more. Zhang Xiaobao was flipping through his account book. He had spent a lot of money on this trip, and he could not just put in effort and not receive anything in return. When he heard Wang Wan's question, he stopped what he was doing and walked out of the tent. Looking at the sun that was about to reach the middle of the sky, he felt a little dizzy and finally thought of a solution. Tonight, arrange for our people to secretly burn a portion of the haloxylon amandendron trees and say that there are bandits hiding in the depths of the desert. Let Kutuyu and the others lead 40,000 people in pursuit. At that time, it will be impossible for the people outside to pass the news to them. Will they believe it? I don't care if they believe it or not. If I say there is, then there is. When they enter the desert, take the money to buy a large amount of livestock from the Turks and Tubo for supplies. They lack food, but they don't lack livestock. With Kutuyu's army in charge of cleaning up the wolves and other possible dangers, our people will enter the desert to collect useful resources and plant trees. There is strength in numbers. That's good. If the Turks and Tubo don't sell. I understand. If they don't sell to us, we will seal off the trade route between them and the Great Tang and not trade with them. There are still tens of thousands of strings of coins here. If there is no other way, we can buy them on credit first. Wang Wan followed Zhang Xiaobao's train of thought and said. Zhang Xiaobao waved his hand and said, Who will give them copper coins? Take out the printed money and give it to them. When the time comes, they will go to the great Tang to spend it. We will not go back on our words and promote the circulation of paper money. As long as they acknowledge the status of paper money and are willing to accept paper money when they sell things in the future, the people will be able to get used to our paper money faster. Zhang Xiaobao was not willing to separate this matter and had to connect with other parties. Then let's burn it. Let's go and take a look at Xiao Bei and the others. Don't let them hurt themselves. Wang Wan had a load off her mind. Thinking about the matter of Xiao Bei and lard not long ago, a smile appeared on her face and she walked out. Let me summarize this matter. Not all of the kites were burned. Remember this lesson. The operation can be considered a success. Next, I will talk about the battle with the person whose beard was burned off. At that time, I was thinking, when Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan came over, Xiao Bei was like a little adult giving a post-battle summary. However, all the generals were clearly absent-minded and looked like they were about to fall asleep. Xiao Bei, aren't you sleepy? You have already summarized it 3 times. I know you are good. Let us go to sleep. Xiao Yuan lowered her head and recited the book of songs. Seeing that Xiao Bei was still saying what she had already said twice, she could not take it anymore and interrupted. Xiao Bei was about to say something interesting when she was suddenly interrupted by Xiao Yuan. She said angrily, "So what if it's 3 times? Reviewing the past and learning the new. For information that can help us. Let alone 3 times. Even if it's 30 times or even 300 times, we still have to treat it seriously." Where was I just now? Yes, I was talking about when I faced lard. At that time, you guys don't know, but this is what I did. Xiao Yuan, repeat it again. You were very quick-witted at that time. Through your unique logic, you made lard speechless. Also, Xiao Bei, let me go next time. I promise I won't repeat this nonsense again and again. It's almost time for lunch. In order to get rid of this situation as soon as possible, Xiao Yuan praised Xiao Bei as quickly as she could. In the end, she strongly requested, "Let's go back. Don't worry about them." It seems that Xiao Bei has the talent to be a politician. Zhang Xiaobao watched the group of people having a meeting and did not disturb them anymore. He walked away with Wang Wan. That night, a patch of haloxylon amandendron trees in the north furthest away from the camp suddenly burst into red flames. Amidst the shouts and chaotic footsteps, the news that bandits had ambushed the haloxylon amandendron trees spread. Some people confirmed that the bandits had run into the depths of the desert after the ambush. Wang Wan mobilized the army that very night, splitting it into 5 groups and charging into the depths of the desert to surround the bandits. But even though Tuyu and the other generals clearly knew that something was wrong, they did not dare to directly jump out to oppose. They could only follow the army into the desert. 2 days later, it was impossible to find any trace of the 40,000-some people outside. At the same time that the army entered the desert, Zhang Xiaobao sent 2 letters to the Tubo and Tujue. He also had the people who delivered the letters bring paper money, wanting to directly buy livestock. On a warm afternoon in the northern part of Hebei province, Li Sun received a letter. He found a clerk in the army and wrote one notice after another, sticking it up in the most bustling part of the Song Mo Commander-in-Chief's office. The locals all gathered around to watch the excitement, listening to the literate people explain the contents of the notice. The notice says that a lot of wild beasts have suddenly appeared in the northern part of the capital, harming pedestrians. They heard that the people here are good at hunting, so they want to find 1,000 hunters to go there and stay there permanently. They can bring their families. Every month, even if there is no big game, they will give each hunter 200 copper coins. If they catch some game, they will give more. After arriving there, all the women in their families will also find work for them. The children in their families can go to school to learn to read without spending money. We only need 1,000 people. Those who want to go quickly prepare. If there are enough people, we will not need them. The literate people enjoyed this kind of moment. Seeing the adoring look of the people around them, they felt a sense of accomplishment. The common people here did not have time to consider the degree of accomplishment of the literate people. Seeing this kind of opportunity, they hurried back home, wanting to participate. The same thing happened in various commander-in-chief's offices in the northern part of Hebei province. Some were in the capital, some were in Luoyang. The requirements of each place were slightly different, but they all met the characteristics of the local people, so the treatment was also very high. Chapter 809. The people in the northern Hebei province's commander-in-chief mansions were carrying out a vigorous immigration movement. Large tracts of land were left idle. As long as people had a little skill, they would not refuse to work outside. Not only was the income high, but more importantly, their children could go to school to study. In the local area, as long as they were not particularly rich, ordinary rich families could not find a suitable teacher to teach their children. This is it for my life. The rest is up to the children. A man who knew how to hunt tied a dozen complete skins into a big bag and carried it on his back. He also carried a carrying pole on his shoulder. There was a basket in front of him and a basket in front of him. In the basket in front of him was a 2-year-old boy, and behind him was a girl less than a year old. Beside him was a girl less than 10 years old and a boy about 6 years old. Their eyes showed confusion and a trace of excitement. They followed another woman and walked towards Jili province. When the woman heard the man's words, she looked determined. She tidied up the bag on her back and touched the man's bow on her left shoulder. She picked up a bamboo basket with her right hand and said to the 6-year-old boy who was confused about the future, "When we get there, don't make trouble. You have to learn well. If others bully you, you have to endure it. This time, your father will fight for you." Even if a 6-year-old child knew something, he did not know much. He was not like Xiao Bei and the others who had been educated since they were in their mother's womb. Hearing his mother's words, he nodded with empty eyes. "Is it true that if I go to school, I will get candy? I heard that there are schools in both Zhang family and Wang family. Where is sister?" The little boy looked at his sister, who was walking on the other side. The girl was full of hope. She looked at her mother, and then at her father. Seeing that they did not look at her, she lowered her head regretfully. Girls who were not from rich families were not allowed to learn to read. After all, they would belong to other families in the future. It was not worth it to spend money. When the girl was younger, she understood that the family belonged to her 2 younger brothers. After walking for a while, the man with the carrying pole finally spoke. "I heard that both men and women are required to go to school. If you learn well, you will be rewarded. Eldest daughter, go to school for a month first. If there is a reward, go to school. You don't have to go home to work." "Oh, I can go to school with my sister." "Sister, you must study hard." The boy immediately cheered up. The girl didn't say anything. She changed the position of the bag on her shoulder and pursed her lips. Her eyes showed that she was going to fight for her life. This type of scene played out everywhere. Every province could send out 1,000 people, each family's relatives. The groups that gradually gathered together became more and more vast. When those in power saw this situation, they didn't dare to stop him, but they also couldn't bear to let him go. They could only grieve in their hearts. It was impossible for the people in the capital not to know about such a big thing happening in the north of Hebei province. Not only did they know about it, but there were also people in the capital who were pushing it behind the scenes, and the biggest one was the Emperor Lilongji. After seeing the news from the other side, while the weather was not cold yet, he ran to the newly built unsinkable lake with Gao Lisher and said to Gao Lisher, "After a group of people with some skills come here, we should find a way to let other people migrate to other places. What do you think about the empty land?" For the first time, Gao Lisher didn't have to worry about sinking when he swam. He was feeling very comfortable. When he heard the emperor's words, he looked at the white clouds floating in the sky. After thinking for a while, he replied, "Your Majesty, when the land is empty, there will naturally be people who want to occupy it. However, there is only land and no people. Presumably, they will have to move in from other places." Your Majesty must prevent people from forcing people to move. N. Leisure, what do you think will happen if we let Xiao Bao and Cuckoo find a way to find people from other places? Li Longji was a little reluctant to give up good places and wanted to take all of them. Absolutely not. If the two of them look for people from other places, who will they listen to? Naturally, the commander-in-chief of the various commander-in-chief manors have no power, and it is not good for Xiao Bao and Xiao Bao to have too much power. I hope your Majesty will reconsider. This subject has heard Xiao Bao say that if we occupy that piece of land, the rice produced will taste better, and the beans produced will be able to be squeezed out more oil. Why don't we put aside for now and wait for the two of them to return before we discuss? Gao Lishur objected to letting Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan reach out their hands. This would be good for both Tang and Zhang Xiaobao. After a while, Li Longji leisurely said, "There are still not enough people. Find more people to study in day medical school. I want to let every child in Tang live." Xiaobao, our population is getting bigger and bigger. Where should we put them? I'm not willing to return to Great Tang, but it's a waste of labor here. Give me an idea. Wang Wan was also worried about the population, but unlike Li Longji, she was worried about not having a place to settle them. This time, Zhang Xiaobao's plan was to take over at least 100,000 slaves, regardless of whether they were from Tufan or Turkic Khaganate. Let's put them in Heilongjiang. Li Longji can't manage that place. We should protect the environment first. I've been there before, and it's too hard to find wild animals there. They even ate animals from the zoo. Now that place is really good. After we go there, we can gather all the tribes there. In the future, there won't be any Soviet Union or Russia. Zhang Xiaobao was thinking long-term. You've done that kind of thing before? How can you bear to eat cute animals from a zoo? They're already pitiful enough. Wang Wan stared at Zhang Xiaobao's words. I didn't want to eat them. It was the local officials who purposely arranged for me to eat them. Don't blame me. Tufan and Turkic Khaganate haven't replied to say whether they want to sell their livestock or not. I'm just urging them. Consider it an ultimatum. Zhang Xiaobao denied Wang Wan's words. He picked up his brush and started to write another letter. Without waiting for Zhang Xiaobao's letter to be sent out, a letter from Tufan arrived. Wang Wan opened the letter. It's a letter from Princess Jincheng. Looks like Zuzhenshide has no other choice and wants to play the family card. Does he think that our hearts are so soft? If the family card is useful, Tufan won't come and attack Great Tang for no reason. Let me see. Princess Jincheng's handwriting is really not bad. How many apricot trees are there outside the capital? Swallows leave and return like snow. Butterflies come and dance like yesterday. The clouds disperse, the stars pass by. The cowherd and the weaving girl fall into the two rivers. The sun sets in the west, the moon on the left. She still has the mood to write poems for fun. Zhang Xiaobao took the letter and read it. He felt that it was very interesting. What poem? She's homesick. Wang Wan took the letter back and read it twice. Chapter 810. Under Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's contemptuous gazes towards the politics, economy, and military of other countries, a letter for Princess Jincheng to return to the Great Tang was delivered to Zhu Zan of Child. Furthermore, the letter deliberately emphasized the problem of the supply of many people and the lack of livestock. After Zhu Zan saw the letter, he drank a lot of tea and felt like he was dreaming. The letter was not written by either Zhang Xiaobao or Wang Wan, nor was it written by an important minister of the Tang Dynasty. It had nothing to do with Li Longji. Nu, someone wrote you a letter asking you to go back. Take a look. Zhu Zan drank a pot of tea and found that his stomach could not hold it anymore. He ordered someone to find Princess Jincheng and handed the letter to her. Seeing the ugly words on the letter, Princess Jincheng was stunned at first, and then she did not care about Zhu Zan and praised him. Aunt Princess Jincheng, I heard that there are many strange things in Tibet, but I haven't seen them yet. I want to go, but I can't go. Or, it is autumn. Aunt Princess has lived in Tibet for 9 years, so I know about it. Xiao Yuan said, I am not ashamed to ask, so I ask Aunt Princess to come to the north to lie down, enjoy the boundless snow, and talk about prosperity. In the north, there is peeling, and there is grass in Ula La's family. Aunt Princess, come and build a snowman. I have prepared carrots, brooms, basins, and countless coal. You must come, otherwise, will the snowman be so scared? Gu Dan. Zhang Xiaobei, 1/9 of the Imperial Scholar. Present. After Princess Jincheng finished reading the misspelled letter, she was confused. What was this mess? And that official, the Imperial Censor, is a 5th-rank official. What is 1/9 of the Imperial Censor? Who is Zhang Xiaobei? Only these 3 words are better written. It should be a general practice. Princess Jincheng, who was confused after reading the letter, looked at Zhu Zan. Zan Pu, where did this letter come from? Does someone dare to make fun of me? It's not making fun of you, it's making fun of me. Zhang Xiaobei, Zhang Xiaobao's younger sister, 5 years old this year. I invite you to Jili province to make a snowman. Tell stories about my tubo. Look at the days. If you don't leave now, you will miss the first snow. Ancestor Chida's face was gloomy. This was the first time he had heard that a married princess could go back. This was too much of a bully. It was not Li Longji who summoned her back, nor was it an official letter. It was actually a little brat who wrote the letter. This was looking down on him. Zhu Zanqi really wanted to slap Princess Jincheng a few times. This was all because of her, but he didn't dare to do so. Now that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were pressuring him with their troops, even the slightest provocation would affect his entire body. Only then did Princess Jincheng know who Zhang Xiaobei was. So it was like this. It seemed that her letter had worked. If she didn't use the official language, others couldn't use the official language to speak. Not bad. The handwriting was really good. Even if there were a few wrong places, it could be forgiven. Zan Pu, what should I do? Princess Jincheng was both expectant and worried. She wanted to go back to the Tang Empire to have a look, but she was afraid that Zhu Zan would not agree. Yes, what should I do? What should I do? Zhu Zan did not have a good idea. He did not want to agree, but he was worried that Wang Wan would find an excuse. Her younger sister asked someone to make a snowman and tell a story. Do you want to put a child's behavior into politics? This excuse should be enough for Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao. When the time came, the 40,000 soldiers would move and stop the food exchange, and they would be able to bully them all the way home. No, they had already bullied them all the way. Princess Jincheng was very clear that her current status was all because of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. She did not expect that a 5-year-old child would be a 5th-rank official. Even if it was a 3rd-rank official, it was still a 5th-rank official. It seemed that the emperor was really good to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family. Many officials could not enter the 5th rank in their lifetime, but a child could enter the 5th rank. A 5th-rank official could enter the imperial court. Zan Pu, what kind of official is the 9th-rank official of the imperial censor? Princess Jincheng suppressed the excitement in her heart and changed the topic. She did not want to force Zhu Zan to express his opinion. Zhu Zan also knew that Princess Jincheng did not know enough about the Tang Empire. To be precise, she did not know enough about the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family. He sighed and explained, the so-called 9th-rank official of the imperial censor is actually more powerful than the 3rd-rank official. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan now have 9 younger brothers and sisters. It is useless to take one out, but as long as the 9 of them work together, they can impeach any official in the Tang Empire. They have already taken care of an official. Many great Tang officials avoid them because they are still children and don't use the compromises and concessions of the bureaucracy. It is precisely because of this that the great Tang emperor believes that they have no selfish motives when they impeach him. Being targeted by them is even more unlucky than being targeted by the censorate. Princess Jincheng covered her mouth with a look of disbelief. A 5th-rank official was already scary enough. She did not expect that he also had real power. How is this power given to the 9 children? It is clearly a sword given to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Wrong. This is the power given to the 9 children. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan do not need to use impeachment means. If they want to do something to someone, they will do it directly. I heard that the 9 children are different from others. They are smart and clever. Nu, do you want to go back? Zhu Zanpu knew very well about the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family. He had to know. His place was occupied by others. Although it felt that the Tang Empire was a little chaotic with the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family, it was the truth. Princess Jincheng wanted to nod. He said that she was going to Jili province. Could it be that she was not allowed to go back and take a look when she passed by the capital? Good method. She did not write a letter in vain. Thinking like this, Princess Jincheng did not dare to say. She lowered her head and said to Zhu Zanpu, "If Zanpu wants me to go back, I will go back. If Zanpu does not want me to go, I will not go." When Zhu Zanpu heard this, he knew that Princess Jincheng wanted to go back. He was angry. Just as he was about to think of a way to stop her from going back, someone came in from outside. This time, it was a sword and a big envelope. What is the meaning of this? Why did Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan send a sword? Is it going to war? Zhu Zanpu forgot to stop Princess Jincheng from going back to the Tang Empire in an instant. His eyes were filled with horror. He carefully picked up the sword and looked at it. It was a very ordinary sword. It had not been sharpened yet. Putting down the sword, he picked up the big envelope and looked at it with Princess Jincheng. First, a letter fell out. The other things were papers with numbers written on them. The papers were very beautiful, and there were complicated patterns on them. Great Tang Bank, worth 1 million coins, Lilongji. Princess Jincheng read the words on the paper and asked puzzledly, "What does it mean?" "It means that this piece of paper is worth 1,000 strings of coins." 1,000 strings of coins. 1 million is 1,000 strings of coins. They want to use this kind of money to pay the bill. How are they going to spend it after they get it? Zhu Zanpu was depressed again. Flying money? Princess Jincheng asked again. Zhu Zanpu nodded and then shook his head twice. It is better than flying money. Flying money can only be used in a certain area. This money can be used in the Tang Empire. Look, this is to prevent others from counterfeiting. At least in the Tubo Empire, it cannot be counterfeited. Zhu Zanpu introduced the paper and pointed out in detail to Princess Jincheng. However, his heart was cold. No matter what, he was the ruler of a country. He would not just look at the surface of things. To be able to create such money, it meant that the technology of the Tang Empire had improved. To dare to let people use paper money, it meant that the foundation of the Tang Empire was very solid. This paper money is sharper than the sword. Zhu Zanpu added and picked up the letter to read. Princess Jincheng read it together. After reading it, she not only wanted to cover her mouth, she also wanted to cover her eyes. It would be best if she could wrap herself tighter with the quilt. The words in the letter were too arrogant. West meets Brahma, north is full of grass. Yazhou hangs, Penglai is full of immortals. For barbarians come to court, 8 sides share joy. I invite you to visit Mount Hua to discuss the sword. Zanpu, I want you to go to the capital. It seems that you are not the only one invited. Are you going? Princess Jincheng was even happier. If Zanpu was going, he would have to bring her along. Mount Hua was in Huayin County, Huazhou, next to the capital. But she did not know what Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan meant. Inviting people from all over the country. Did they want to catch them all in one go? Zhu Zanpu was also frightened, especially the words at the end of the sentence. It was actually not Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan using their own names, but Li Longji's name, regardless of whether Li Longji gave the two of them this authority. If the two of them dared to use it, they would naturally discuss it with Li Longji. Moreover, Li Longji seemed to value the two of them very much. To go or not to go, this was the problem. In the past, who would foolishly go to Tang Dynasty's capital and be afraid that they would not become a hostage? But now, it was not about whether they would become hostages or not, but the consequences of not going. This excuse to start a war was more sufficient than the previous one. What did Mount Hua mean? Was it a provocation or a threat? Zhu Zanpu thought about many things. In the end, he felt that it was better to go than not going. If he went, Tubo would still be Tubo. Li Longji would not think that he could swallow Tubo by killing him. If he did not go, Tubo might not be Tubo. Devilish Cuckoo seemed to have been silent for a long time. More importantly, if others went and he did not go, who knew what they were talking about? When the time came, they would all join forces and attack Tubo together. With Tubo's current strength, they would not be able to deal with it. Wait for me to write a letter and ask clearly. If I go, Nuo, you can accompany Xiao Bei to build a snowman. Zhu Zanpu said what Princess Jincheng wanted to hear the most. Chapter 8:11. The Tubo and Turks wrote letters to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, asking about the details of the sword meet on Mount Hua. Both sides were clear that the so-called sword competition was definitely not about whose sword was better, and it was not just about words. They reckoned that they might encounter a full-on martial arts competition when they arrived at their destination, so they needed to prepare in advance to avoid losing face when the time came. If they did not do so, they would not only lose face, but also the face of the country. Zhu Zhenchide had already decided to personally enter Tang. He had thought it through. Wasn't it just to see Li Longji? Could it be that Zhang Xiaobao really dared to leave him behind? In any case, Tu Fan had already been tormented to such a state by that bastard Zhang Xiaobao. If he went to the Great Tang to take a look, everyone would say that the Great Tang was extraordinary. At the same time, he could also make Princess Jincheng return home. If he could compete with Tang in the sword meet, Li Longji would probably compromise on the Tubo issue. As he pondered, Zhu Zhenchide began to try to interact more with Zhang Xiaobao. Only by understanding the enemy could he have a chance to defeat the enemy. Zhang Xiaobao was not in a hurry. He watched as Wang Wan tormented the 40,000 soldiers, stood in formation, and planted trees. The soldiers were gradually getting used to these things. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Chong acted as if they had something to say about the letters from the Tufan and Turkic Khaganate. They didn't mention the specifics, but instead emphasized the benefits that the people from both sides could enjoy after arriving at the Great Tang. They were simply avoiding the topic. The two were most concerned about whether the paper money could be accepted. The news from the country had already spread, and the circulation of the suppressed iron and copper coins among the common people was greatly hindered. Now that there was more food in the country, the living standards of the common people had increased. The purchasing power of one copper coin was very large, and the coins made of iron and copper became the small type. Not only was the amount small, but the size was also small. 10 of the new coins were equivalent to the value of a standard Kaiyuan Tongbao. It was a very good move, but the common people did not appreciate it and were not enthusiastic. Sometimes they used copper coins, and sometimes they directly bartered. No one was willing to take the initiative to go to the bank to exchange. Looks like we have to start from the merchants. After receiving this news, Zhang Xiaobao started to worry. It's not easy to change a habit of spending. Businessmen are good and flexible. You made a mistake, didn't you? I knew you would make mistakes. Most of the banknotes issued now are circulated between merchants. The amount is too large. Who would carry a 10-coin banknote on them for no reason? What if they lose it? Do you think 10 coins is a small amount? Wang Wan was standing by the side, not helping to come up with ideas. She even angered Zhang Xiaobao. All right, don't use such a strategy on me. Even if you don't provoke me, I will think of something. Isn't it just a matter of consumption philosophy? It's simple. I'm prepared to transition naturally. Do you understand? Write a letter back and issue an order to all the schools that we have opened in various places. In the future, we will not directly give the students things in the schools. Instead, we will give them money. When it comes to food, we will spend their own money to buy it. When it comes to rewards, we will not give them books. We will let them buy their own paper. However, they have to buy it in our stores. It's too expensive to buy it elsewhere. Let them get used to using new money. Give them the kind of money that is worth 1 copper coin for 10 coins. When the time comes, they will tell their families. In this era, the uncultured value the cultured very much. Sometimes, the words of literate children are more effective than the words of adults. Let's use children's diplomacy. Zhang Xiaobao did not need to spend too much time thinking and came up with a solution. This strategy was used by many people. For example, if a new place was developed and no one went there, what would they do? If they moved a key school there, it would not take long before the surrounding houses would be sold. Wang Wan pondered for a moment and felt that something was wrong. After blinking a few times, she finally understood. If you directly give money to the children, have you thought about the consequences? Usually, food is provided for free. It's a waste if the children don't eat it. It's the same for clothes. But once you let the children buy their own things, the consequences will be. Among the children, some of them are filial. They don't want to eat good food and just casually buy things to fill their stomachs. They save money to buy things that can be used at home, right? Without waiting for Wang Wan to finish, Zhang Xiaobao added, "Yes, if you know, why do you still do that? Let's see what you can do when the children lack nutrition." Wang Wan was very dissatisfied. Zhang Xiaobao chuckled. "You only think about the children being filial. Why don't you think about how the adults have deeper feelings for the children? Many adults can do anything for their children to have a good life. I'm waiting for the children to do that. When the time comes for the parent-teacher meeting, they will tell the parents that their children are starving to death. What do you think will happen?" "What will happen? Zhang Xiaobao, you are too insidious." Wang Wan immediately understood the meaning. The result will be that the children's parents, in order to let the children eat well in school, find out that the children don't have enough money, and take the initiative to exchange money. You are using the weakness of people to do things. It's too immoral. When the time comes, we will compensate. This is the function of the government. A normal and qualified official doesn't have to have a creative mind. He only needs to guide, coordinate, and supervise well. But many officials can't even do this and fail. Zhang Xiaobao didn't care about Wang Wan's responsibilities. Of course, he hoped that all the officials could be like him and find the resources in every place and use them creatively. No wonder so many civil servants want to learn political economy. These days, Tubo and Turkic didn't sell a lot of livestock. They seem to be worried that the currency will depreciate. Although we know that the currency must depreciate. Seeing that this problem was solved, Wang Wan changed the topic and talked about the recent trade. Zhang Xiaobao exclaimed, indicating that he understood. He continued, "From tomorrow onwards, stop the trade of food with Tubo. Ship the food over and bring in more weapons from Great Tang. Tell the Tubo and Tujue that they have to use currency to purchase. They will definitely work hard to collect foreign currency. If you don't believe me, let's take a look." Actually, Wang Wan knew that it was feasible even without looking. As expected, after Zhu Zhenchai found that the trade of food with Great Tang was affected, and after seeing a few technologies and a large number of weapons that were good for Tubo, he happily accepted the new concept of currency. A large number of local specialties were sold at a lower price than the original trade. After exchanging for currency, he went to buy the technologies first, even though he knew that the technologies were outdated for Great Tang. Chapter 812. Under Zhang Xiaobao's strategy, even if the Tubo and Turkic tribes were reluctant to part with their livestock, they had no choice but to exchange them for Tang's banknotes so that they could buy weapons, food, and advanced technology. The banknotes that were not accepted by the people in the country suddenly had a market outside. Only a few places in the country actively responded to the issue of banknotes. Needless to say, Sanshui County was one of them. When the new currency was released, the people in the county treated it as a hard currency. Those who bought things with the new currency could even get a certain degree of discount. Apart from Sanshui County, there were also Buxing County and the nearby Shinsai County. These were all places that were directly related to Zhangxiaobao and Wangwan. Not to mention Jili County. They had to use it even if they did not want to. Then there were Chongning County and Shuzhou. These places were not far from the capital. The farthest place was Luzhou. The great Tang Bank had opened almost all over Tang, but there were still some places that could not be reached. First, it was far away, but this was not the most important thing. The most important thing was that the population was small. When they opened a bank there, they found that no one needed it. If Luzhou did not develop, it would not have been possible to build several banks there. Currently, Luzhou could be said to be the most prosperous place apart from the capital. When it came to the lives of the people, even the people in the capital could only look up to it. According to Zhang Xiaobao, the capital's overall GDP was twice that of Luzhou. However, when it was put into the hands of an individual, the people in Luzhou were 5 times more than the people in the capital. It could be said that every family was rich. When the Great Tang Bank was being tested in the capital, they had arranged for people to follow the construction in Luzhou. Now Luzhou's bank had become the designated place for all the foreign merchants to deposit and withdraw money. In fact, the people in Luzhou were almost between barbarism and civilization. At least, many officials in the capital thought so. When they mentioned Luzhou, there was a hint of contempt in their words, even though they knew the people in Luzhou were living a good life now. Every family had livestock, cars, and bicycles. Luzhou had a bicycle factory. Moreover, the roads were well repaired, so people could ride their bicycles when they went out. The only thing was that there was no rubber, and the wheels made of leather were easy to break. In addition to the abundant materials, there was also the progress in culture. Needless to say, all the children had to go to school. Even the adults who could not read and write had to go to night school. Even in such a place, there were still people who looked down on them. Sun Hua was one of them. When he arrived at Luzhou's dock by boat, he looked down at the busy people on the dock and said to a 13 or 14-year-old child beside him, "My son, this is Luzhou. It's thousands of miles away from the capital. Only those who have no other choice will live here. Otherwise, how can it compare to the prosperous capital? Remember, the world is as prosperous as this. Your life's ambition should be the capital." The child raised his head and looked at his father's face. He nodded vigorously, but when he looked down, he felt that this place was not much worse than the capital. He picked up the clairvoyance hanging in front of his chest and looked further into the distance. He said to his father in confusion, "My father, I don't know." "Honorable father, the flow of people here is like shuttling back and forth. There are clusters of carriages and horses. Before entering the harbor, the shadows of the sails can be seen. Compared to the capital, it seems to be even better. The previous person really had some ability, but he was dealt with just like that. What a pity." After being refuted by his son, Sun Hua, as a father, really could not find an excuse to deny it. Originally, he just wanted to let his son know that the most promising place was the capital. He did not expect that he would use the wrong example. He reached out and took the clairvoyance away from his son. "Be careful not to break it. It's expensive. It's true that this place is prosperous, but it's too far away from the capital. It's difficult to be promoted. As for the origin of this prosperity, it has nothing to do with the previous provincial governor who dared to smuggle. If he didn't get greedy, he could have been transferred back to the capital and put in an important position after a year. Unfortunately, he only stayed steadily for 4 months before his mind became active. Zhang Shuo, who helped him find a way, was almost implicated. He still doesn't know how powerful Luzhou's people are. Don't stretch out your hand, or you will be caught." The child did not quite understand his father's words. He looked at the scenery again and asked, "Father, since we can arrange a good position after a year, why did you say this place is not good? Who built Luzhou's place?" Sun Hua was speechless by his son's question. Just now he just wanted to emphasize the importance of the capital, but now he was stumped by the question. The officials here can get a good position in the capital, but it's better to get a good position in the capital directly. Think about this later. I won't tell you clearly today, but the people who built this place were sent to Luoyang to retire. Now you know, Luzhou may not be a good place. In order to maintain his dignity, Sun Hua said a few words. After that, the child nodded sensibly, but the others were not willing to do so. The two people working at the dock who were building the gangplank for the ship looked at the person who spoke arrogantly with very unfriendly eyes. Their hands stopped moving, indicating that they were not going to continue building the gangplank. Before Sun Hua could react, he said to his son, "Although this place is good, it is not a blessed land. There is a lot of miasma in the forest, and hurricanes often come. The original official has used up all his luck. Otherwise, he would be like me and work in the capital in the future." The gangplank that had just been built was removed. Then, Sun Hua saw one of the two gangplanks open his mouth and turn to the other people at the dock and shout, "Someone is talking bad about Provincial Governor Zhang. It's him." With a swish sound, the people who were working immediately stopped what they were doing and looked over at the same time. Sun Hua was startled. Just when he was wondering what had happened, the boatman who sent his family here stood beside him and asked in horror, "Lord Sun, what did you say about Provincial Governor Zhang? You'd better explain, or I can't protect you." Sun Hua was stunned. Only then did he realize that he had said something wrong. He heard people talking bad about Luzhou, but he could not say anything bad about Zhang Zhong. He could praise him to the heavens, but no one would find trouble with him. Some people even found him pleasing to the eye and invited him to a meal. However, speaking bad about Luzhou usually did not end well. It's a misunderstanding, a misunderstanding. I'm talking about the previous governor, not Zhang Zhong. Provincial Governor Zhang built a good foundation, but the previous governor didn't know how to cherish it. Sun Hua did not have time to lose face in front of his son, so he quickly explained. Chapter 8:13. As the shouts came from the fast boat, the people at the dock chose to forget Sun Hua, the person who had just spoken rudely. They all looked at the sea behind the fast boat. Unfortunately, all they could see was seawater. Sun Hua, who had been forgotten, quietly wiped the sweat on his hand on his clothes. He began to feel curious again. His eyes followed the workers on the dock, but they were blocked by the mast. "Father, you should take office quickly. After the handover, you will be the provincial governor here, the highest official. You don't have to worry about others disrespecting you." The child gently touched his father with his hand and gave a sensible idea. Sun Hua's father, Wei Wei, was stunned. He regretted speaking too confidently to his son just now. After hesitating, he finally decided to teach his son to be an honest person and not to talk nonsense. "My son, you don't know. This is Luzhou, an extraordinary place. Even if I take office, if I speak ill of Zhang Zhong, I will still cause trouble. Judging from that person's shouts just now, Luzhou must have something new. Wait a moment. Maybe there will be more benefits." When the child heard that there was something good, his eyes blinked. He remembered what his father had said earlier and asked again, "Father, why can't I speak ill of Zhang Zhong? Didn't he go to Luoyang to retire?" "Shoo, lower your voice. He has nothing to do in Luoyang for the time being, but his son and daughter-in-law have something to do. Zhang Xiaobao is about the same age as you, but he is the provincial governor of Jili province. He is slightly inferior to me in terms of rank, but his power is greater than mine. The reason why his rank is inferior is because Zhang Zhong made Luzhou an upper province. It is said that this place is under the control of the imperial court, but it is actually the territory of the Zhang family and the Wang family. I'm only here to stay for a year. When I leave office, I will return to the capital and get a lot of money. If you want to talk about idleness, I am. You have to work hard." Sun Hua was finally willing to tell the truth. He was worried that if he did not let his son understand the situation, He would say or do something wrong when he went out for a stroll. If so, his career would become very bumpy. The child was really smart. After hearing his father's words, he rolled his eyes and said excitedly, "Father, I have an idea." The emperor certainly doesn't know that Lu Zhou only listens to the Zhang family and the Wang family. Otherwise, how could he let them go? I will write a letter and tell this matter to the emperor in the name of my father. When the time comes, Zhang Xiaobao will definitely be implicated. I have meritorious service. Maybe I can take over his position and be the governor of Jili province. I don't believe that I can't do what he does. Io, my little ancestor, give up on this thought. You are not allowed to think about it in the future. This is not the way to be an official. It's good that you are not convinced, but you have to figure out why he is so good. Is the provincial governor something you can be? Do you know what the provincial governor is supposed to do? Not to mention the provincial governor. Even if I give you a secretary, you can't figure it out. There's only one Zhang Xiaobao in the Tang Empire. He was born with knowledge. If you really have the ability, I can also retire. If you still want to use that kind of conspiracy, I won't care about you anymore. Your brother is also not bad. Sun Hua was almost scared to death. After saying a lot, he looked at his son and sighed with emotion. The ignorant were fearless. How could Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan be compared with people of the same age? Not to mention people of the same age. Even people who were a few generations older than them could not deal with them. How did the previous official get promoted? It was because Zhang Shua had offended the two of them. As a result, the security of Xinyuan province, which was originally very strict, was slightly lax. It was so lax that anyone who did not help would feel sorry for himself. Thus, the previous official could not resist the temptation and reached out. Not only did he lose his position, he also implicated Zhang Shua. This showed that when it came to politics, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan could contend with the prime minister and even take advantage of him. Remember, don't reach out, Sun Hua muttered. It was unclear whether he was saying this to his son or to himself. The child was still a little unconvinced, but he was worried that his father would not help him. So he became much more obedient. While the father and son were conversing, the shadows of sails finally appeared on the path behind them. Sun Hua used his 1,000 li and saw 12 large ships that he had never seen before appear in his field of vision. Filled with curiosity, Sun Hua did not mention the matter of disembarking. The main reason was that the springboard had been removed. If he mentioned it now, it would cause the two dockside helpers to recall what had just happened. Through the 1,000 li, the ships did not seem very far, but it took a full hour for them to reach the docks. The crackling sounds of firecrackers resounded throughout the docks. The people on the ships cheered and waved their hands vigorously, giving off a festive feeling. Sun Hua thought for a moment, then fished out a string of copper coins from a hidden pocket in his sleeve. He shouted at a person not too far away and tossed the money in a line. "This little brother, may I ask what ship this is?" Sun Hua asked curiously. Perhaps it was because the return of the fleet made him happy. But that person reached out and caught the money. For the time being, he did not think about what Sun Hua had just said. While looking at the ships gradually approaching the docks, he introduced them to Sun Hua, a fleet heading south. When we left, there were 12 ships. When we returned, there were still 12 ships. I wonder what they are carrying. This time, Governor Zhang will definitely be very happy. Back then, it was Governor Zhang who came up with the idea of going south to take a look and bring back some good things. Now, it has finally succeeded. Is it easy to go south? What could be on the ships? Sun Hua asked again. If it was easy to go, then it wouldn't have been a year and a half. The ships are naturally filled with treasures. Perhaps the new governor will have other thoughts and be dealt with. The person on the docks tossed the copper coins in his hand as he spoke casually. No, definitely not. The new governor is not stupid. Even if 12 ships were filled with gold, the new governor would not want them. He would just treat them as iron plates plated with copper. Sun Hua assured with certainty. Oh, that's a pity. I haven't seen Governor Zhang for a long time. I originally wanted to get a few more governors and send Governor Zhang over when the imperial court has no more appointments." The person on the docks continued to speak the truth, not hiding anything at all. Sun Hua couldn't help but tremble. He no longer spoke. The child beside him took back the 1,000 li eye and looked toward the ship. Suddenly, he pointed at a person on the ship and asked with joy and curiosity, "What is that hanging on that person's body? It looks like a big cat, but also like a small bear. It's alive and can move its eyes. Father, I want one for sister. I wonder where they got it. It's very interesting." Chapter 814. Sun Hua and his son were not the only ones who did not know what kind of animal it was. Even the people on the dock had never seen it before. The little thing was not big, and it looked cuter than a monkey when it was hanging on a human. Especially the little thing's expression. It always gave people a pitiful look. It would lie on the shoulder of the person standing at the bow of the ship, and its eyes would look around curiously and timidly from time to time, making people want to hold it in their arms. Wow, that thing's ears are so big. A group of children who came to play on the dock saw the person walking to the dock, and their eyes focused on him. A little girl who was holding a doll in her arms shouted. Not to mention girls, even boys would find this little thing interesting. If one looked closely, they would find that this little thing was not beautiful. However, its eyes, ears, and body posture were different from when it was together. "What is it?" Another little girl saw the person on the ship standing on the dock, so she came closer and asked. In fact, the person holding the little thing did not know what it was. He just followed the requirements of the Chamber of Commerce of the Zhang family and Wang family, who had great influence in Luzhou. No matter what strange things they encountered outside, they had to bring them back if they could. Therefore, they brought a group of these little things on the ship. Fortunately, before they left, the people of the Chamber of Commerce had told them that if they caught a plant, they had to bring back the soil of that place. If they caught an animal, they had to know what the animal ate and then bring back the food. If they caught a plant, they had to bring back the seeds. Even so, several of them died on the way. When he heard the question of the little girl, the person thought carefully and organized his words before he answered. "We found this thing on our way south. It looks like a bear, but its ears are bigger. It likes to stay on the tree and is willing to eat leaves. We named it Leaf Bear. This thing is timid and must not be scared. Others have never seen it before. In the future, someone might raise it as a treasure. When they know its habits, they will send it to the zoo in the capital." This person's explanation was quite detailed. At least, it was better than those who had never seen this animal. He even gave it a name. Who says others don't know? If Governor Zhang is here, he will definitely know. I'll go ask the people of the Chamber of Commerce. The little girl was not convinced. She squeezed through the crowd and ran towards the Chamber of Commerce. The person holding the little thing shook his head helplessly. Looking at the little girl's age, he knew that she had never seen Zhang Zhong before. When Zhang Zhong was here, the little girl was probably only 1 year old. But looking at the little girl's reaction just now, it was clear what kind of position Zhang Zhong had in her heart. It was too amazing. No matter how powerful the Zhang family and the Wang family were, how could they know something that they had never seen before? It seemed like Lu Zhou was really from the Zhang family and the Wang family. The people on the ship continued to move the items down. They were counting on these items for the harvest of this trip. If it wasn't for the Chamber of Commerce guaranteeing that all the items brought back by the Jiangnan merchants would be bought at a high price, they really didn't want to bring back a pile of useless items. The animals that looked like the little thing were also taken out of their cages. Some of them were looking around nervously with their eyes wide open, while others were sleeping. Just when many people were watching curiously, a person from the Chamber of Commerce came over with a thick book in his hand. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, he glanced at the little thing and compared it with the picture of the tree on the colorful page. He nodded and said to the person holding the little thing, "Yes, this animal is called koala or koala. It likes to eat the leaves of several kinds of trees. It has a faint fragrance. It will only drink a little water when it is sick. Did you bring enough leaves of that eucalyptus? Did you bring back the seeds? Oh, there's a kind called rose eucalyptus that is the best. These little guys like to sleep all day long. Let me see. It said that they can sleep for 14 to 18 hours. Little young master and little miss will be very happy. Little young master and little young master will buy it. See, I told you. Governor Zhang will definitely know. What's so great about it? The little girl who went to call them just now raised her small head with a look that said, "How dare you not believe me?" No one paid attention to the little girl's words. Those who were close to the Chamber of Commerce moved closer to the people from the Chamber of Commerce and looked at the colored picture on the page. Sure enough, the picture was of the little things. Even the leaves they ate were drawn. Below the notes were written about their habits. That's amazing. Father, did you see that? The Zhang family and Wang family actually drew the things that just appeared in advance. How did they know? Sun Hua's son withdrew his clairvoyance that happened to be able to see the situation from this angle and said to his father with a shocked expression, Sun Hua was not an immortal. How could he know how the Zhang family and Wang family knew what they had just seen? Hearing his son's question, he pretended to be profound and said, "This is the ability of others. If you want to be like others, you have to study hard and have a good memory. There's always someone better than you. This is the truth. Do you understand?" "I understand. Father, I will definitely work hard." The little boy didn't understand, neither did his father. Hearing his father's reprimand, he immediately agreed seriously. At this time, the things on the ships began to be moved down continuously. After wandering outside for a year and a half, they finally returned home. Everyone resisted the urge to take a good rest, and seriously did the last thing they wanted to do. It could be said that they had suffered a lot along the way. There were several times when they almost died at sea. They had eaten all their food and could only eat fish. If it weren't for the fact that the Chamber of Commerce of the Zhang family and Wang family provided them with a thing that could make fresh water out of seawater by drying it under the sun, they would have already died in the vast sea. After another part of the things were unloaded from the ships, the people from the Chamber of Commerce stared at a pile of wood and said happily to the people on the ships that had just returned, "Good. You even brought back so much red sandalwood. This time you really made a lot of money." Chapter 815. The return of the 12 luxurious cargo ships at Luzhou's dock set off a new wave of enthusiasm for setting sail. Adhering to the theory of the bold die of overeating and the timid die of starvation, many people who originally did not dare to set sail were now eager to give a try. Before the goods of the 12 ships were all unloaded into the warehouse at the dock, the merchants from all over Luzhou rushed to the dock as fast as they could. One of them wanted to see what the goods were and how much they were worth. The other was to find out where the fleet had gone and what kind of danger they had encountered. The merchants of the 12 ships were also praised by countless people. While they were happy, they could not help but feel like they had survived a disaster. Masterly, masterly, have a safe journey. I wonder if you have time these days? We have reserved a banquet at the flagship store of Ocean Cloud Inn in the state capital. We hope Master Li will come. As a leader of the 12 ships, Li Mian had just gotten off the ship and had not even exchanged a few words with the people of the Chamber of Commerce when someone approached him and extended an invitation. Hearing other people's words and looking at the envious and jealous gazes of others, Li Mian suddenly felt proud and elated. When he first rented a ship here with others, many people scolded him for being a fool. Before setting sail, he had even heard many people belittling him. Now that he was back, he thought, life is really unpredictable. After carefully sizing up the person who had invited him, Li Mian knew this person was the one who had not heard bad things about him. He shook his head and smiled back at the other party. "I'm tired from the journey. I really don't have time these days." Why don't we wait for a month and talk about other things after I've rested up? Masterly, don't worry if you're tired. I've already prepared a place to rest. Tell us, where did the fleet go? We want to go and see the vast world out there. This person was still unwilling to give up. It was as if he did not hear Li Mian's rejection. Li Mian was a little impatient. He replied flatly, "No need. I've already arranged a place to rest. The wind is strong and the waves are high. How can we remember the way? Besides, we are not prepared to set sail, let alone draw a map. Excuse me, everyone, please make way. I'll pay for the ship." What he said was exactly what many people had said before they set out to sea, and now it was used to refute what had happened before. As for where they were going, what kind of resources there were, and what they had to be careful of on the road, they definitely couldn't tell others so easily. That was information that he had risked his life to obtain. Why should it be given to others for free? Those who wanted to make a fortune would rent their own boat and go out to sea. They would also experience what it meant to die 9 times out of 10. As soon as Li Mian finished speaking, the people from Luzhou's Chamber of Commerce surrounded the area to prevent outsiders from getting close. The person in charge of the Chamber of Commerce held the booklet in his hands as he discussed the details with Li Mian. "Boss Li, congratulations on your safe return and bringing back so many good things. Should we talk about the rental fee and the price of the goods?" The person in charge asked Li Mian as he checked the items they had brought down from the ship. Li Mian nodded a few times and replied, "Manager Zhang, we've discussed the matter of the ship before we came back. We want to buy it. Although it's damaged in many places, it's our first time on such a long journey. We can't return it to the Chamber of Commerce. Manager Zhang, please take a look at the goods and see if they're worth the money." The 12 ships were not given out for free. Li Mian and the others came from Jiangnan. Before they rented the ships, they had to use their properties as collateral. After they returned from the sea, they would use the price of the goods as collateral. If there was more, they would be refunded. They were given 3 years. If they did not return in 3 years, the properties used as collateral would belong to Luzhou's Chamber of Commerce. Now that all 12 ships had returned safely, Li Mian did not plan to continue renting ships. Considering that he would be going out in the future, he might as well buy them. He could save a lot of money in the future. However, he was not sure if the goods were worth the money. He was a little worried. The person in charge, Manager Zhang, had already seen the various goods brought back by the fleet. Based on the booklet made by the young master and young lady, he knew that these goods could be exchanged for more than 20 ships. It was not that the goods were valuable. The rarer something was, the more valuable it was. The first time they returned, there were many things that Great Tang did not have. Not to mention the other things, just the koala. In Great Tang, no one had even heard of it, let alone seen it. Naturally, many people were willing to pay a sky-high price to buy it. As for how the young master and young lady knew, was there even a need to ask? They were immortals. There was nothing that they did not know. With this thought in mind, Manager Zhang said to Li Mian, "Boss Li, according to the contract when you rented the ships, in addition to the goods, you have to tell the Chamber of Commerce everything you saw and heard on the way and present the sea map you drew. As long as what you say is true and the map is true, you can exchange these 2 things for 4 ships. Furthermore, the next time you go out to sea, you can get new equipment from the Chamber of Commerce, such as the equipment used to collect fresh water on your ship." According to the previous agreement, the goods must be handled by the Chamber of Commerce. There are 2 methods. One is that the Chamber of Commerce gives you a price. Don't worry, it is enough for you to buy a ship. The Chamber of Commerce does not know how much it will sell for. If it sells for more, you have to agree. The other method is that the Chamber of Commerce will not buy it directly, but will help you contact other buyers. In the end, the Chamber of Commerce will take 40% of the net profit. Don't worry, it is not the gross profit. Go back and discuss it. Oh, the goods do not include animals. The animals and plant seeds you brought back must be given to the Chamber of Commerce unconditionally. We will take over now and write a letter to inform the master in the capital." After Manager Zhang finished explaining the conditions, he did not rush Li Mian to make a decision immediately. He leaned back in his chair and flipped through the book in his hand. In his heart, he already knew where the animals would go. The big animals would naturally be sent to the Tang Dynasty Zoo. As for the small animals, such as koalas, Xiao Bei and the others would probably have new playmates. This thing was really too cute, especially when it was in someone's arms. It turned its head to look elsewhere, and then timidly turned its face back, looking like it was wronged. One could not help but want to get one to hug. At this time, Li Mian had already excused himself and went to discuss with the merchants he was working with. He was very clear in his heart that since he had signed the contract, he could not go back on it. The sea map and the key anchorage had to be handed over. If it was another shipyard, perhaps the rental of the ship could be faked. However, for the shipyards of the Zhang family and Wang family, that was definitely not possible. Not to mention whether the other party would be suspicious. Just the fact that the other party immediately took out the map and compared the little thing, which he did not even know the name of, showed that they knew a lot of things. Yes, a lot. If he angered them, the consequences would not only be suppression in terms of business. If they were unhappy, they might even send a few gunships after him when he set sail again. Yes, I have to follow the contract. There are some benefits that cannot be taken advantage of, Li Mian reminded himself in his heart. Only then did he feel relieved. The other merchants who were stopped outside were now both regretful and excited. They regretted that they did not work with Li Mian to set sail. They were excited because if others were to make money, they would be able to make a profit too. Just like when they were on Xinyuan Island, the Zhang family and Wang family were indeed impressive. They actually knew that there was a large area outside and that there were many things that the Great Tang did not have. They originally thought that the Great Tang had everything. Thus, while Li Mian was discussing with others on how to cooperate with the Merchant Association, a storm was brewing in the sea. At the edge of the desert near the Jinchuan, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were calculating the number of animals they received this time and estimating how much profit they would make. Xiaobao, it seems like the Tufan and Turkic Khaganate will have to pay a higher price this time. You actually sold the operation model of the bank to them. They can't help but be tempted. You are really too evil. After calculating the accounts, Wang Wan realized that not only did they not lose money this time, they even made a lot of money. Just the animals alone were enough to cover the expenses of the 40,000 people along the way. There were also the local medicinal herbs and slaves. This could be considered a real profit. More importantly, the Tufan and Turkic Khaganate had already accepted the Great Tang's paper currency and acknowledged its legitimacy. This way, they would have a stable foreign exchange channel in the future. When the time came, they could use the animals they obtained from the Tufan and Turkic Khaganate to increase the acceptance of the country's currency. This could be said to be killing many birds with one stone. Of course, the most impressive thing was not how much money they earned this time. It was that the Tufan and Turkic Khaganate understood the importance of a country having its own currency system. This so-called currency system was actually a bank. The success of the Great Tang Bank had caused many of the surrounding small countries to be envious. This was especially so for the people who were emperors. They realized that ever since the Great Tang had a bank, Li Longji's treasury had started to fill up. Who wouldn't want to have money in their hands? This was especially so when this money could be used to build a place and fight a war. Yes, fighting a war was the most frightening thing. Once Li Longji had money, who could guarantee that he wouldn't make a move against them? Under such circumstances, Zhang Xiaobao wrote down the operation model of the bank and wanted to sell it to the Tufan and Turkic Khaganate as a commodity. The price he set was extremely high. After Keitachin and Suzanshide found out about this matter, they were worried for a period of time. In the end, they were willing to pay a higher price in exchange. They were really worried that if they didn't have such a bank in their country, when Li Longji raised more money to fight a war, their country wouldn't have the strength to retaliate. Of course, what Wang Wan praised was not that the people from both sides were willing to spend money to buy the bank, but what they did after they had enough money. Zhang Xiaobao also understood what Wang Wan was referring to. He turned to the last page of the account book and said, "This is called being in line with the international market. I'm a good person. I'm helping them to gather money. You're lying with your eyes wide open. Not to mention me, even Xian Air knows what you're planning to do. You want to start a real financial war with them after their banks are established. This is the temptation of the devil. You gave them hope and let them open Pandora's box. It's just like asking people to go overseas to search for new places and obtain more things. The benefits are accompanied by risks. When you ask people to go out to sea, you said it very nicely. Why didn't you organize a fleet yourself? I don't know if any of them can come back alive. This is the sea. When it breeds life, it also devours life." As Wang Wan spoke, she thought of the merchants who were encouraged to go out to sea. She hoped that they could come back alive and bring back more good things. Just as Wang Wan mentioned this matter, the pigeon that was trying its best to fly had already arrived in Ezhou. It received Shui Yun, who was sending letters back and forth, and put the letters on Shui Yun. Then it flew towards the edge of the desert. In the palace of Tubo, Zuzhenshide was holding a piece of paper that Ilua had just exchanged for with a lot of resources. He was reading word by word. Beside him was Princess Jincheng. Now, her status was obviously much higher than before. The entire harem of Tubo had almost become her world. No one dared to compete with her anymore. Everyone was afraid that if they provoked her, the Tang Empire would take revenge. If it was in the past, no matter how powerful the Tang Empire was, no matter how tough Li Longji was. After all, it was very troublesome for the Tang Empire's army to attack. They were usually passive and would not take the initiative to attack. But ever since that cuckoo demon fiend appeared, everything had changed. No one could guess the true thoughts of a child. Perhaps it could be said that children were never so stable. If they were happy today, they would laugh. If they were unhappy tomorrow, they would cry. Whether they could attack, or when they would attack, had nothing to do with the thoughts of Li Longji and the other officials. Zuzhenshide also knew about the recent situation in the harem. He had even added fuel to the fire once. There was no helping it. Who told the desert to station 40,000 soldiers? This is the method of the Great Tang Bank. Good, very good. Why didn't anyone in my court think of it? This way, merchants will come and go frequently. Every transaction will have to pay a tax to the Great Tang, and Li Longji will have more and more money in his hands. Nuanu, when you return to the Great Tang this time, you must remember to ask more about the disadvantages of the bank. I'm worried that Zhang Xiaobao will give me something that I can't see through. If I do as he says, it will bring me a lot of trouble. He and Wang Wan will not give up on killing me. Zuzhenshide flipped through a few pages and saw an introduction written by Zhang Xiaobao, describing the strengths and weaknesses of the bank. Of course, those weaknesses did not seem to be anything special. As he continued reading, Zuzhenshide could not understand. There were many technical terms in the book, and this was not his forte. The only thing he knew was that Zhang Xiaobao would not be so kind. Even if the Tubo had paid a great price, Zhang Xiaobao might have set a few traps. Even if he returned to the Great Tang, no one would tell him this. He could only rely on Li Nuanu. What else could Princess Jincheng say? She was already married to the Tubo. Since Zuzhenshide mentioned it, she had to help him ask. What made her even happier was that Zuzhenshide's words meant that she could return to the Great Tang to take a look. She thought that she would have to stay in the Tubo for the rest of her life. She did not expect that she would have the chance to return. This time, no matter what, she had to stay for a while. Or perhaps she could look for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to discuss, and see if she could return to visit her parents every once in a while. Thinking of this, Princess Jincheng saw that Zuzhenshide was still waiting for her reply. She quickly said, "Zuzhenshide, you can rest assured. Nuanu will definitely help to ask about the key points. I believe that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan will tell Nanu. Don't ask the two of them. I heard that the two of them are not on good terms with Zhang Shuo. You have to think of a way to ask Zhang Shuo and Wu Huifei. That woman had once made a move against the great Tang Bank. It's a pity that her methods were not good enough. Not only was she seen through, she even allowed Zhang Xiaobao to take the opportunity to open up a better bank. Zhu Zhenchide, who had collected a lot of information on the great Tang, immediately stopped Princess Jincheng when he heard that she wanted to ask Zhang Xiaobao. Wasn't that just waiting to be cheated? The only people in the great Tang who were not on good terms with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were Zhang Shuo's faction and Wu Huifei. Ever since Empress Wang regained favor, anyone with a discerning eye could see that Wu Huifei had been thinking of ways to deal with the Zhang and Wang families. However, the two families were too stable. Even Li Longji was biased toward them, causing Wu Huifei to fail time and time again. However, if Zhu Zhenchide suggested to work with them, they might be able to gain other benefits. Princess Jincheng nodded her head and agreed. She sighed in her heart. Sometimes, she did not know what she should do. The conflict between the two sides seemed to have put her in the middle. Zhu Zhenchide took a few more glances at the book in the bank. He rubbed his sore eyes and said to Princess Jincheng, "This time, there probably won't be anything good over there. If anyone asks you about the specific situation of Tubo, you must not tell them. This slave will remember." Princess Jincheng nodded her head. Only then did Zhu Zhenchide's thoughts settle. The one who was equally vexed was Commissioner Quebec. Don't look at how the current ruler of the Turks was Mo Jillian. The person in charge was Commissioner Quebec. He controlled the army and naturally controlled the entire Turks. He really wanted to personally go to the Great Tang to take a look at the sword meet on Mount Hua. However, he did not dare to do so. If he controlled the army and something happened, he would lose everything. Thus, he could only let Mo Jillian go personally. At the same time, he was very worried. If Li Longji supported Mo Jillian and helped him take over his military power, it would be difficult for him to do so. This matter was not over yet. Now, there was the problem of a bank. The spies sent to the Great Tang had already sent back more than one report, describing the various benefits of a bank. It would allow Li Longji to collect a lot of taxes and make the Great Tang even more prosperous. Now that the method had been bought back, he did not know if it was true or not. It seemed like the bank was just a few simple methods. However, Commissioner K was very clear that it was not so simple. If something went wrong, the entire Turks might be implicated. Thus, he came to Mo Jillian's place and said to Mo Jillian, who was about to set off, "When you go to Tang, it's best if you can get in touch with the Tubo people. Tell them that we are willing to cooperate with them in terms of military and bank. If they can find out about the bank's problems, we are willing to pay the corresponding price." In truth, Mo Jillian did not want to go. If he was stopped, he would lose his current position. However, he had no other choice. If he did not go, Li Longji would have an excuse to attack the Turks, and the surrounding countries would not help him. With this thought in mind, Mo Jillian hastily said, "Have someone make a copy of a thing that Zhang Xiaobao sold to us. When I bring it to the Great Tang, I will compare it with the Tubo people to see if it is the same. I also want to bring more warriors. Since it's the sword meet on Mount Hua, it will be a martial competition. We can only win and not lose." While the Tubo people and the Turks were thinking of their own methods, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan received a letter from Lu Zhou. They really came back. They came back very quickly. A year and a half is enough for a round trip. They got koalas. Did they go to Australia? That's not close to here. We have to go around Ma Liujia. The letter that a pigeon can carry is too small. It only wrote a few things that we need the most and did not mention anything else. I wonder if there are kangaroos. Yes, ask them to send the koalas quickly. Koalas are not easy to raise. Also, the leaves that they brought back. If the seeds can't keep up with the koala's eating speed, they will starve to death. Zhang Xiaobao read the letter and imagined the scenery of the places that the merchants had been to. He was a little yearning. Wang Wan was also very happy. It was good as long as someone went there. Even if it was only to Maliojiao, it was fine. The places along the way had a lot of resources. There were spices, copper, gold, and good trees. Anyway, there were countless of them. Good. Send the koalas over for Xiaobei and the others to play with. It will be very interesting for the children to hold the koalas. I'm just afraid that the koalas will be killed by Xiaobei. Forget it, life and death are predestined. We have to go back soon, otherwise, we won't be able to make it in time for the new year. You write a letter to Mo Jilian and Zhu Zan of Chida to urge them to go with us. Also, we have to think of a way to make them stay here. We can't go back now. We have to wait until the population in the north of Hebei province decreases. It would be best if we can directly incorporate their army. When the matters in the north of Hebei province are settled, even if they all go back, they won't be able to do anything. Wang Wan had never held the koalas with her own hands. Imagining the scene when the time comes, the corner of her mouth revealed a trace of a smile. Zhang Xiaobao touched his face with his hand. Aya, but to you is really not easy to deal with. I guess he has thought of something. After all, they have no way to contact the outside world for a long time. When they come out, I think they will arrange for someone to send a message every once in a while. Chapter 816. Lard had not been having a good time recently. His camp of more than 2,000 people was constantly shifting to the west, and they were almost out of the desert. It was also difficult to collect drinking water. There was no running water, and they could not drink it. He could only watch as his subordinates became listless, unable to think of a better idea. Besides the problem of water, there was also the problem of food. Damn that Zhang Xiaobao. He's doing this on purpose. He's definitely doing this on purpose. When Lard was preparing to eat early in the morning, his subordinates came looking for him. There was a problem with the food. The fish that he had spent a great deal of money to trade for from Tubo had a layer of fat floating on it. It would have been fine if it had been butter, but the problem was that it was clearly lard. The live fish in the barrel seemed to like the smell of oil very much. They gathered where there was oil, occasionally pecking at it, causing the oil to spread over the entire barrel and glow in the sunlight. On the way back after the trade, we ran into patrolling Great Tang cavalry. A few of them threw large chunks of lard over, saying that they were careless and slipped. A duo eater in charge of transporting the food explained to Lard, upon which Lard let out a thunderous roar. Lard could only give this sort of evaluation. Despicable. The Grand Great Tang actually dared to mess with his food. Go find something else to eat. These throw them away. Lard helplessly looked at those lively and cheerful fish, waved his hand, and returned to his tent to fret over the matter. The other duo eater silently went about their business. In recent days, they had already lost the confidence to continue staying here. Sometimes, when they slept at night, they would feel that coming here was a mistake. Not only had they gained nothing, they had also sacrificed many things. When they had first come, they had wanted to establish a forward station next to the Great Tang to provide assistance to those who would come later. This desert was very good. There were Tubo, Turks, and Great Tang. The three factions had fought here to create a gap for outsiders, but in the end, Zhang Xiaobao of the Great Tang had tied them down. They could not fight, but they were unwilling to leave. If it was Zhang Xiaobao who sent people to beat them up once or twice, he could find an excuse to leave. However, Zhang Xiaobao and Zhang Xiaobao had been living in peace, except that they would occasionally throw things from the pigs. For example, pig hair, pig dung, and pig blood were thrown into the wind every day. Even if they didn't look, they could smell it. The camp had no choice but to move again and again. How could you do this? Even if two countries are going to war, you have to be a little more magnanimous. Look at you, you've been scheming since you were young. What will you do when you grow up? Zhang Xiaobao was giving Xiaobei and the others a political lesson in the camp. The matter of the pig's blood and pig's dung was done by Xiaobei and the others. It was said that when attacking the enemy, they had to save them. Xiao Bei took the lead. As for who gave her the idea, it wasn't important. At this time, she was listening to her brother attentively, trying to understand the spirit of his words. I didn't know what you did until today. Otherwise, I would have come to talk to you long ago. What attacked the enemy, they had to save them. Your little plan was not bad, but your methods were very vile. If others knew that you were my younger siblings, they would laugh at me. Zhang Xiaobao's face was dark as he continued to teach the children. Xiao Bei lowered her head and looked like she was admitting her mistake. When she heard her brother's words, she curled her lips. She didn't believe that her brother only found out today. It had already been half a month. Isn't it because you think that we did well? You didn't do it. Jealousy, pure jealousy. Xiao Bei, what are you muttering about? Xiao Bei, who had just muttered a sentence, was discovered by Zhang Xiaobao. No, I'm not muttering. I have a toothache, so I'm grinding my teeth. Brother, please continue. Xiao Bei shook her head, refusing to admit it. Zhang Xiaobao snorted and said, Don't be unconvinced when I say that you didn't do well. Look at the situation now. Can't you see? That's because we are strong and the enemy is weak. We have to pay the smallest price for the greatest results. What did you do? Can't the pig's blood be used to make blood tofu? Can't the pig's dung be used as fertilizer? There's even pig skin on the lard. They usually like to eat mixed pig skin, so how can they bear to throw it away? Besides, the wind here doesn't blow in a fixed direction. If it blows away the many cannibals, our camp will have a smell. Aren't you ashamed? Are these my Zhang Xiaobao's younger siblings? You are a joke. Why don't you go upstream to the river where they get water and wash the pig's intestines and hand them to me later? I can fry the intestines for you. You actually wasted it. Why do I, Zhang Xiaobao, have such stupid younger siblings? Today's matter needs to be summarized. Everyone will write a self-reflection later. You must recognize your mistakes and correct them. Do you understand? Xiao Bei lowered his head even more. He suddenly turned around and glared at a guard in the crowd. It seemed that this was the young guard's idea. Xiao Yuan also had an expression of deep realization on his face. Han Xianfeng and the others, who were not far away, looked at each other. At the beginning, they really thought that Zhang Xiaobao was going to talk to Xiao Bei and the others and ask them to be more above board. At this moment, they finally understood. How was this teaching his younger siblings to learn? He was clearly guiding his younger siblings to lower the cost of their schemes. Xiao Bei obediently took 2 steps forward. His eyes were red and tears were welling up in his eyes. Brother, I know I was wrong. I didn't eat so many fried pig intestines. Now that I think about it, my heart aches. Also, I didn't use much pig skin to cook the jelly. I will definitely learn from this in the future. And it's good that you recognize your mistakes. You are still young. Remember, when you are strong, you have to use the smallest price to achieve the best goal. Disperse. I see that you have prepared a lot of pig trotters. When it's time to shave them, go upstream and roast them. Throw them into the river after they are roasted. Zhang Xiaobao looked gratified at his younger siblings who were willing to correct their mistakes. After comforting them, he even gave them some guidance. Under the admiring gazes of his younger siblings, he left to find Wang Wan to discuss how to make a breakthrough. Today, you are only allowed to eat half of your lunch and dinner. Think about it carefully. How much do you think you missed? You even made my brother personally come over to teach you. Humph, I am very angry. Xiao Bei turned around and complained to the innocent-looking guards. The people sent by Zhu Zan of Tubo, Cheetah, were also watching from the side. They originally wanted to see how Zhang Xiaobao would educate his younger siblings. Now that they understood, they didn't care about the uncomfortable feeling of cold sweat sticking to their bodies. They hurriedly went back to write a letter and had someone send it back quickly. They told Zan Pu to be careful, very, very careful. Wang Wan also heard how Zhang Xiaobao had lectured Xiao Bei and the others. When she saw Zhang Xiaobao swaying back, she didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She said, Xiaobao, you just did that? What kind of education do you want to educate Xiao Bei and the others? Hee hee, it's just a joke. They are children, after all. I will play with them. Anyway, the one who loses is not me. They can eat more people and suffer. It's a pity that there are no good chilies. You can't make Mao Shui Wang with chilies. Zhang Xiaobao didn't seem to care at all. You are provoking ethnic conflicts. Wang Wan put the blame on him. Which ethnic group provokes ethnic conflicts? There isn't one yet. Who should I pick? Come, let's discuss how to deal with Ku Tuyu. We have less than 3 days before we set off. Zhang Xiaobao no longer put his thoughts on the more than 2,000 people. He began to think about how to make Ku Tuyu lead the troops back to the Song Mo Commander-in-Chief's office. At the very least, it had to be delayed until next year's spring plowing. At that time, even if Ku Tuyu wanted to do something, there wouldn't be any resources available. Didn't you say you wanted to arrange an assassination? I think this idea is fine. Wang Wan mentioned Zhang Xiaobao's idea. Zhang Xiaobao shook his head and regretted. So that's what you were thinking. After scolding Xiao Bei and the others today, I changed my mind. Not only do we have to let the children know how to save resources, the adults should also set an example. If we arrange an assassination, the chariot will be ours, the manpower will be ours, and the crossbows will also be ours. Using the smallest price to exchange for the biggest benefit will not be laughed at by Xiao Bei and the others. Therefore, I decided to find Ku Tuyu for a meal and treat him to some buns. At that time, we will bring their troops back together. Leaving them here will consume too much money every day. We will spend too much money on transportation. The slaves we bought here will be enough to support us. Chai Zuzan agreed to go to the capital, and Mo Jilian also agreed. However, they will not go with us. We will set off the day after tomorrow. The day of departure arrived. Ku Tuyu waited for General Ku Tuyu to fall ill after eating a few buns. Just when Ku Tuyu suspected that Zhang Xiaobao was up to something bad, Zhang Xiaobao didn't make any moves. He didn't even ask about the matter of military authority. The 40,000-strong army set off, bringing up layers of sand and dust as they moved towards the place where the ships were. There was still a group of people who left to return to Izhou. They were the relatives of Zhang Gang and Zhang Fang. Chang, who had been invited to visit his children. He had just arrived the day before yesterday. After hearing his children reciting poems, performing dances, and writing, he was so happy that he slapped his son's head several times in succession. After playing with them for 2 more days, he finally reluctantly bid farewell. He left behind a sentence for his children to learn well and left without looking back. Mo Jilian set off in advance. He wasn't willing to move with Zhang Xiaobao's large group. That wouldn't be the sword meet on Mount Hua. He would be escorted. Of course, even if he didn't go with them, he wouldn't use the name of the sword meet on Mount Hua. He would use the excuse of going to the capital to pay tribute. He didn't dare to talk about the sword meet with Li Longji. At the same time, Zhu Zanqida arranged the matters in Tubo and set off with Princess Jincheng. His speed was neither fast nor slow. He followed behind Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's group. There was a day's journey in between. Scouts were sent out in all directions, reporting every hour. They had to carefully watch the path that Zhang Xiaobao's troops had taken. There was no other way. They had been frightened by the information sent back by their subordinates. Even children like Xiao Bei could recognize the mistakes made in scheming, let alone the adults. With the departure of the Great Tang's group, the Duogu people who hadn't eaten or slept well for a few days finally heaved a sigh of relief. Then they were at a loss. The 40,000-strong army had left the desert, and a few thousand people had come to set up camp. They couldn't go back at all. What worried them the most was that the people who came later wanted to carry out the scheme to the end. Lalda thought about it and felt that he wouldn't be of much use if he stayed here. He might as well go back early and send more troops next time. Although the road wasn't easy, he had to vent his anger. Everything passed by calmly like this. The people at Pengzhou Pass felt a little regretful. They thought that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan would have a big fight. They didn't expect that there would be a feeling of powerlessness. Those who had such thoughts were usually soldiers. They were hot-blooded. The people who were marshals had different thoughts. They were most in favor of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's method. This was what it meant to subdue the enemy without fighting. With a 40,000-strong army, the trouble in the north of Hebei province was solved. The Tujue and Tubo problem was solved. The Duogu people spent a lot of money, but didn't get anything in the end. Paper money started to circulate in Tubo and Tubo. They also exchanged a lot of livestock and slaves. Sure enough, a good fighter has no illustrious achievements. In the capital, in Xingqing Palace, after Li Longji received the news of Zhang Xiaobao's return, he read the letter again and again. Finally, he said to Gao Lishir, who was beside him. Gao Lishir was also happy. This time, Zhang Xiaobao didn't use a lot of money. At least, he didn't use the money from the national treasury. As for the money used by Xiaobao himself, he would probably ask for the corresponding policies. Good son. Thinking like this, Gao Lishir said modestly, "Your Majesty is wrong. It's all petty tricks that can't be shown in public." Well, it's petty tricks. It's petty tricks that solved the problem in the north of Hebei province. It's petty tricks that forced Zhu Zhenchide and Mo Julien to come to the capital to pay tribute. It's petty tricks that planted a deeper hidden danger for Tubo and Tujue. Starting tomorrow, all the smart people in the court should give me some petty tricks, like Xiaobao and Cuckoo. Li Longji was glowing. It seemed that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan took people on a trip as if they were playing, but the result was unimaginable. If this was considered petty tricks, then there was no smart person in the world. Gao Lishir had always heard the emperor praise Xiaobao and Cuckoo, so he had long been immune to it. He followed Li Longji's words and said, "I think the only good thing is that they didn't start a real war. Otherwise, it would be a waste of people and money. I wonder what kind of sword competition Xiaobao wants to have by inviting them in the name of your Majesty. Could it be that they want to compete to see who has better swordsmanship?" Gao Lishir was very happy when he talked about this. After Zhang Xiaobao went there, the court had passed a resolution. If Wang Wan really sent troops to deal with Tujue and Tubo, the court would send troops to the border of the other side to provide reinforcements. When fighting Tubo, the Tujue dared to move, so they had to send troops. When fighting Tubo, it was the same. They would not allow Wang Wan to fight on two fronts, even if they knew that she could do it. This was not a problem of ability, but a problem of the Tang Empire's attitude. Fortunately, they did not fight. The two of them used a few tricks to extinguish the flames of war that were about to rise. Now, other than Xinluo and Japan, the surrounding countries were basically stable. What they had to see was what Xiaobao would do when he found the Tufan and Turkic people. Li Longji was also thinking about this matter. His name had been falsely used. In a situation where he should be angry, he couldn't get angry. He could still distinguish between public interest and private interest. Zhang Xiaobao did not use his name to gain benefits for himself. Although he couldn't see it even if he gained benefits, at least others couldn't criticize him. Xiaobao hasn't written a letter to talk about the specifics? Li Longji was also curious about the sword meet on Mount Hua. It sounded good, but he didn't know how to do it. Gao Lishir replied, "No, Xiaobao didn't put his thoughts on Mount Hua. It seems that the sword meet has already been considered. When he comes back, we will know." In a recent letter, Xiaobao mentioned that he wants the imperial court to help share the burden. Before winter comes, we will increase the number of cargo ships on the Jing River. Fortunately, when they pass by the Jing River, they will block the river. As Gao Lishir spoke, he took out another letter. This was a letter from home. However, he first mentioned that he would wait for some time before writing another letter to Li Longji. Gao Lishir was actually not willing to let the emperor read his letters because the emperor always snatched his things. As expected, when Li Longji took the letter and read it, he didn't first mention blocking the river so that 40,000 people could pass by the small river. which was the river from Sanchue County. Instead, he pointed at the words on the letter and asked Gao Lisher, "Is the bone marrow of this yak really better than that of a normal yak? It can strengthen the body and bones?" "I think so," Gao Lisher replied. "Well, then we will help Lisher take care of a part of it. When we return, we will write a letter to ask Xiao Bao and the others the best way to eat it." Li Longji took care of Gao Lisher. What else could Gao Lisher say? Just give it to him. Ever since Xiao Bao and Cuckoo started to give him things, the emperor had developed a habit of giving him something every time. It wasn't like this in the past. Li Longji had received something, so he brought up other things in the letter. "But suddenly you fell ill again. Does he want to stay behind and walk slowly? Xiao Bao wants to let 40,000 people enter the small river from Dingping. I don't know if they can withstand it. If 40,000 soldiers cause trouble, it won't be good. Your Majesty, in addition to the soldiers and horses in Fenzhou, you can also send the soldiers and horses in Jizhou. I believe that Xiao Bao will solve this problem. Xiao Bao can't let them enter the capital. Otherwise, it will be no different from an army at the gate. This subject will write a letter to ask about the details." Gao Lisher was also very afraid of the 40,000 people. He was afraid that they would suddenly cause trouble, which would be difficult to clean up. On the Yellow River, Zhu Zanqi's fleet had surpassed Zhang Xiaobao's fleet. It was not that Zhu Zanqi was fast, but that Zhang Xiaobao's fleet was too slow. To be precise, the speed of the ships was slow, but the ships carrying a large number of soldiers were not slow. There were many sick people on the slow ships. Among them, Kutuyu was the most seriously ill. Now it was not just his stomach that was uncomfortable, but his whole body was not comfortable. Originally, he had a bad stomach, but when he was on the river, he finally contacted someone from the Song Mo Commander-in-Chief's office. After he heard the news, he really fell ill. It was said that at that time, blood kept flowing out of his nose, which made his already weak body worse. "General Kutuyu, are you better? I'm here to give you something to eat. Steamed egg lamb. Try it. I added some salt to give you more salt. Otherwise, your body will be even weaker." Zhang Xiaobao carried a tray in his hand. On the tray was a large bowl of steamed eggs and lamb. The steamed eggs in the bowl were very tender and pleasing to look at. He walked into Kutuyu's cabin and said with concern. Kutuyu looked at Zhang Xiaobao blankly. When Zhang Xiaobao put down the tray, he asked Zhang Xiaobao in a weak voice, "Provincial Governor Zhang, what do you want to do? I haven't done anything to offend you, have I? But General too, you don't have to get up. Quickly lie down. General, what are you saying? You have always helped me, so how could you offend me? General, you don't have to think too much. You will recover in a few days. Come, try some of the lamb eggs. Sigh, for the sake of our friendship." General actually came despite the dangers of not being acclimatized to the climate. Zhang Xiaobao reached out and pressed down on Kutuyu's body as he was about to get up. He used a spoon to scoop up some egg lamb and blew on it before bringing it to Kutuyu's mouth. If it were someone else who didn't know the specific situation, they would really think that Zhang Xiaobao was inexplicably moved by Kutuyu. However, at this time, one was lying down and one was sitting. They both understood what was going on. This time, Kutuyu was really convinced. This Zhang Xiaobao could be so hypocritical. He could even talk nonsense in front of others. What else couldn't he do? Wei Wei shook her head. Kutuyu didn't eat the egg lamb. Instead, he stared at Zhang Xiaobao. After a while, Zhang Xiaobao still had the same sad expression of seeing a sick lord. However, Kutuyu gave up the idea of seeing an evasive look in Zhang Xiaobao's eyes. He said, "Zhang Xiaobao, don't be so hypocritical. What are your plans for my Song Mo manor? Do you think that I won't be able to do anything if you get rid of everyone? Let me tell you, Zhang Xiaobao, as long as I still have a breath, I can still make a breakthrough." "Yes, General. However, General to you, you must not think too much. You will definitely live. When you reach the capital, you can recuperate and be vigorous again. You must not lose your confidence. Everyone hopes that General will recover soon. However, just talking is not enough. You must eat. Come, eat half a bowl. After eating, rest more. Don't think too much about other useless things. Zhang Xiaobao really looked like he was trying to coax a patient who was in a bad mood. However, Kutuyu was about to cry. This Zhang Xiaobao was really too shameless. He was lying through his teeth. He turned his head with all his strength, wanting to knock the spoon away. However, Zhang Xiaobao was one step ahead of him and moved the spoon away. Zhang Xiaobao, let's make things clear today. Why are you treating me like this? Don't argue with me. That you're tuning in to the Echo Reads YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.